What's happening, guys? Welcome to another night in the garage. Getting ready to take Old Blue out for a spin in the cosmos, as always. And I just realized I totally forgot how to say Karlene's last name. We're going to ask when she comes in here. I could leave it as it is, but I'm going to try to murder it here. Is it Lenxweiler or Lenxweiler? No. She says no. We're gonna find out once we bring her in how bad I murdered it. But I just want to give a shout out to those that are already here in the chat tonight. We have Zero Cool, we have Champ Campbell, we also have T Waz. What's happening? Melissa Nicole. Hey, thanks for popping over. And we also have Michelle Beavers in here. Let's see who else. Oh, Josh Casey. What's up, brother? How's it going tonight? Andrew and Gnomes Trucking Express. He's in here. I hope you're traveling safe out on the road tonight. Who else do we have? Josh. There we go. Okay, that's it for the shoutouts right now. So really quickly, what I'd like to let you guys know about is next week, I have a maybe guest. I haven't heard back yet. Possibly. I'm going to say probably not, but possibly UFO Jane. I don't know. And if not, I'm going to bring in a special guest. We're going to figure it out. One way or the other. There will be a show next week, but then the week after that, I will be off for the holidays. I think most people will be. So let's see. What else do we have? Oh, someone just put in the chat. Is this the right way? It should be Lenxweiler. No, that's also wrong. Oh, we're all wrong, guys. I just stopped trying after the third time. We should stop trying. So really quick, too. Another thing, hey, Tammy, what's happening? Thank you for joining us tonight. Another thing I'd like to tell you guys about right off the bat here is Ben and Joe set this up, and I'm sure he could do a way better presentation of this, but I'm going to at least mention it. We're kind of switching over to the idea of just being publicly funded versus doing, super chats, guys, they're always welcome. We really appreciate them. They help us a lot. But obviously YouTube and other entities in between YouTube and us take a lot of their cuts. Sometimes by the time it reaches us, we might only be getting like 30%, or sorry, they're getting like 35 to 40% of it. And so Ben and Joe, if you guys go check out the website, obviously the UFOGaragePodcast.com, you can go in there and not only get merchandise, but he's also made these new sweet certificates, which is $5 a month. You could be a doctor scientist, which is, that's the one, that was the original one back in the day. And then if you want to step it up a little bit, for $10 a month, you can be a space fart officer. Now you're stepping into the upper echelon of the certification that we have over here. And for $20 a month, you can also be a certified UFO naut. So if you guys get a chance, maybe pop over there. There's a lot of new stuff we've been throwing up. There's all kinds of stickers. I had actually not been in there in a while myself. Ben's been doing a lot of work updating it. So I just noticed I have a Cinnamon Terry in the van with me. He's riding with me in Old Blue. So enough about all that, though. I just wanted to let you guys know that you can support the show that way, and it will help us to continue bringing you guys this kind of content. Honestly, if a little bit happens, right, we got some big plans. Like, there's a lot more coming that we would love to be able to do for you guys, and it really wouldn't take that much more. So whatever you guys can do that way is always appreciated, even though it's not what we're here for. Honestly, it's just to bring people like we're bringing to you tonight to be able to share their stories and their experiences. So talking about... no, I'm so nervous to say any part of your name right now. Talking about Karlene, let's pop over here for a second. Which show notes, guys, everything's in there. So if you want to check out her website, you can also check out her Instagram. What else did I put in there? There's something else. I'm missing something. Website, Instagram. There's a third one. What is it? Oh, her YouTube. My goodness, how could I forget that? So you got the three in there. You got her website, her YouTube, and then a link to her Instagram. So I'm going to read just a little bit about who and what she's about. Some people in the chat already know who she is. Some do not. And as always, guys, please put all of your comments, if possible, in caps, and I will get them to her. Like I said, she only has about an hour for us tonight. So after she's done, I might open up the lines for anybody who might want to hop on and just hang out with me a little bit. I always like to pick up a couple of hitchhikers while we're out traveling the cosmos, So a little bit about Karlene. She said, one of the greatest driving forces in my life is my desire to connect with others. From the roots of this desire, I have branched out into different projects throughout the last 15 years of my life. These projects all stem from interest in healing myself from the anger, sadness, and pain I had been used to feeling most of my adolescence. I spent a good part of my life disconnected from others in my pain, until I realized that only through connection and sharing with others can anyone heal. This thought gave me wings, the courage to reach out and to be confident enough to create business that would facilitate self-growth. In my 20s, I had been both a high school teacher and fitness trainer in the local universities and studios. By 30, years old. I only had training program. Uh-oh, I gotta check something really quick. I'm not muted, am I? Okay, somebody sent me a message. I just had to check because I have done that before. All right, guys, sorry. 1 second. I was total professional, guys. We've been doing this so many times. We got it covered for you. So really quick, where was I? Had been in teaching by 30 years old. I had built a successful aerial yoga studio, and soon an online training program and manual for budding aerial yogas around the world. I was helping others to find their own wings by 34. I sold the studio and put my money, energy, and energy into facilitating healing through the connections made with powerful QHHT hypnosis techniques, as well as my own heal process, which utilizes both a grounded and spiritual practice with chakras to bring balance and harmony into your life, which I developed in 2020 during deep inner reflection and meditation. And there's quite a bit more I could keep reading, guys, but I feel like why not let's bring in, let's at least mention it. She says I'm currently a level 2 Reiki practitioner, access consciousness practitioner, the level 2 quantum healing hypnosis practitioner, a certified 200-hour yoga teacher. That's a lot of hours, guys. 200 hours is a lot. An aerial yoga teacher, aerial silks advanced instructor, Buddha yoga instructor, mat Pilates instructor, and nutrition specialist, as well as a formal social science and psychology teacher. My goodness, are you sure you're only 30-something years? This is a lot. I personally studied acupuncture, Tai Chi, Qui-Gon, or I say Qui-Gon, is it Qigong? And we're going to find out when I bring her in a second here. And many other healing modalities and styles of yoga continuously. I have worked personally under the guidance of Master Hypnosis Tom Nicolai and Mark Johnson, taking courses with world-renowned regressionist and hypnotherapists Roy Hunter and Paul Around, as well as trained and certified under the International Association for Counselors and Therapists, or IACT, as a licensed and certified hypnotherapist for IACT. Currently, I am enrolled in David Quigley's Alchemy Hypnosis training to be certified and accredited with the National Guild of Hypnotists, National Guild of Hypnotists, the NGH. My goodness, guys. Enough of me talking. Let's bring on our guest here and see how many words are here. Karlene, welcome to the show tonight.
Hi.
Oh man, I gotta take a moment to breathe.
You take a minute.
All right, welcome. First of all, thank you so much for making the time to come on and hang out with us tonight. I really do appreciate that.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
This is a technical question. If I turn my viewer the other way, would that be better for your listeners?
I don't think it would affect it, but go ahead and try it. Why not?
All right, ready,
Let's
guys?
see what happens.
Before I start chatting about what my name is.
There we go.
Yeah, this feels better.
Perfect. Right. Yeah, we get the wide angle. Perfect. I love it.
All right, cool. I like this better. Okay, cool. Hi, everybody. It's not Wheeler. And yes, I do need a new last name, but I mean, like,
no.
The shoe's gonna have to fit for that person, My last name, think of Rottweiler.
Okay.
Lenxweiler.
Oh, Lenxweiler.
Lynx, it was like Lynx and then Weiler.
It was the one thing that was like, don't forget to ask her this before we go on. And I literally forgot. I ran up to get those paper towels and I came out and went live and I was like, oh no.
And you know what? Honestly, this morning, I'm not kidding. Or maybe it was last night. I was like literally having a moment where I was like, I don't like this name. I don't like my name. And it's a good name, but it's like, honestly, if you look up Lenxweiler, I think there's 36 in the world. Like there's just not a lot of us. So we're a rarity for good reason because no one can pronounce it.
I get it. I have to admit, I think you might be the only one I've ever seen, to be honest.
Probably. There's not many of us. There's not many.
Very
Obviously
nice.
German, right? So.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to bring it up, but yes. I'm just kidding. Yes, it is definitely. Is definitely German.
Well, I like a little German, so no, it's a German name, and there's like a group of us in Ohio. There's a group in Connecticut, and then there's a group out in Seattle, Washington. So it's like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
I do know too that the other group I was thinking of, there's a big group in Pennsylvania, right?
There is. Did you know that?
Well, I'm in
Ohio,
Michigan.
Pennsylvania, there's a bunch
Yeah.
of farmers that came here. So the Lenxweilers came here. The genealogy of it. This is nobody cares about this, by the way.
Oh,
Like
let's
this
do
is
it. Come on. We're
all
we're
right.
just
Listen,
driving and talking here.
wait,
So
hold on. In time up for 2 seconds. So one listener, I looked at the comments before you brought me on screen.
okay.
One person did say, was she on Lynn's show? Yes,
Mhm.
I was on Lynn's show. I've been on Lynn's show twice. And we're in talks right now to be, I might be a regular guest on that show.
Heck
So,
yeah.
so I've been
Oh my
around.
gosh.
Oh, Melissa, that was really sweet of you. Thank you. So I'm sorry about the very long biography you had to read just now.
So
I want to apologize to anybody that had to listen to that.
I only apologize to them because I
it's
had
just
to
a
read
lot.
it. Poor things. I've heard
I'm
people.
so sorry to you. It's Qigong, but I'm so
Thank you
sorry
so
that you had
much.
to read the whole thing. So Lenxweiler, yeah, there's a whole bunch of us that came here in the late 1800s, and they plopped around. There's a group in Connecticut, and then a group plopped into Ohio, and then obviously Pennsylvania's right next door. So they're all farmers, and yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
Very nice. Well, like I said, I appreciate your bio. I do. We just needed someone who's good at reading bios to be able to read that back for you because it's very impressive. Listen, there were at least 20 words on there that I'd never tried to say out loud before. So I was impressed on that alone. I was like, must be an important thing. I don't know. But let's dig into this a little bit before we dig into the meat potatoes of why we got you here tonight, because I know we don't have a ton of time with you. I'd like to really start with this. First of all, you mentioned that you went, and we don't have to go any more detail than you're uncomfortable with, but you mentioned you had some stuff happen early on in your life that kind of set you on this path of maybe a little disgruntled in the beginning and came about learning how to perhaps heal oneself through some of these techniques. So what, if you don't mind, a synopsis of what took place, or at least in the early on years of Karlene?
Okay. Yeah, so I try to not talk a lot, but like I tend to be long-winded sometimes. So just cut me off.
Please bring it. We're here to hear you tonight. Trust me.
Oh boy. Okay. So in Lynn's show, I've talked about this, and especially the last one I was on. So when I was a kid, and I'm a big believer in astrology, the symbolism within astrology and that belief system, I really think there's something to it. And I'm a Scorpio. I just turned 36 last Saturday. So
oh, well, happy birthday.
Thank you. It's Scorpio season. So Scorpios tend to be more psychic than the other signs. And that's why I mentioned that. Okay. So Scorpio children tend to have a lot of crazy experiences. And I mean, I'm no exception to that rule. Growing up, I had a lot of strange experiences. And I did talk about them quite a bit on Lynn's show, if anyone was interested in that. However, when I was talking about that, these things, like my parents were very religious, very Catholic. And I remember going to church and having a lot of strange, I had a lot of thoughts about life. I mean, at 7 years old, I was literally thinking about my existence and about how my goal in life was to be, and I wrote this in a journal at 7 years old, where I was like, I want to attain wisdom in my life. That was my goal at 7 years old. Like I want to be one of the wisest people who's ever lived. And that's a really weird goal for a 7-year-old. And I remember going to church and everything my parents were very Catholic. So we used to go to church every Sunday and all that stuff and do CCD. And I remember at 6, 7 and questioning everything. I remember seeing Jesus on the cross at the altar in church and being like, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't look right. Like there was something, I had a lot of questions around it. And as my parents were explaining to me, like, you're a body, and in religion they talk about death. And I remember thinking, I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose to be in this body or with these parents or in this existence. And I was very disappointed. I was like, I remember feeling very angry at 7. Like, I didn't choose this. This isn't what I want. And I also had a lot of occurrences. Like if I wanted to know, like I never met my grandfathers. And I remember being 8 or 9 and being like, I would sit and meditate at 8 or 9 and be like, I want to know who my grandfathers are. And I would see a picture so my mom had a lot of pictures displayed in the living room, as most moms do. And I remember meditating on this when I was 8 or 9 and being like, I want to know who they were. And in my mind, I saw very clearly 2 pictures of these 2 men. And I was like, oh, I know those pictures. They're in the living room. So I went downstairs to the living room and I found the 2 pictures of these 2 men. And I asked my mother, at 8 years old, like, who are these guys? And she goes, those are your grandfathers. So I was already able, and that's why I brought up the Scorpio things, because Scorpio children tend to be very psychic. You can hear me okay, right?
It broke up a little bit. Go ahead right there. You said at age 7.
Yeah, so at age 7, I was already having experiences. Like I had an understanding, and people in the comments, feel free to say like, oh, I've had this before. I had that experience when I was a kid. Like, let me know. Because when I was a little kid, I used to actually like hold electronics when they wouldn't work. And something in me told me if you just put your energy into it, it'll work. And so I used to do that. I used to hold things that were like electronic in the early 90s that wouldn't work. And I would hold them and I would like feel and imagine putting energy into them, and then they would work. They would start to work, or just for a few minutes, So I had
that's still impressive.
Yeah, and I had experiences of paranormal visitations as well at night. So that was a thing too. So a lot of weird stuff happened in my life, and I just never talked about it because my parents were religious, and that was like, ghosts weren't part of the paradigm of the Bible. Jesus doesn't talk about ghosts really.
Yeah, or at least the parts that we get to see, right?
Yeah, not at 7 years old, right? So I definitely. So thank you for letting me get through all that. But yeah, I definitely had a lot of crazy experiences as a child. So growing up, I was like, "There's more to this existence than what they tell you. There's more to this," and then what we should definitely talk about. You should remind me if it's not appropriate now. We'll talk about later. My mother had some UFO.
Okay.
Situations.
Well, let's do that. Yeah, we're covering the history, so let's talk about it. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I want to set this up saying my mother does not believe in this stuff. She does not believe in aliens. She doesn't believe in paranormal. She thinks it's crazy. I do hypnosis. She like past life regressions are beyond her paradigm.
Okay.
And I remember being 7 or about 7. The movie Tremors had just come out. So if anyone knows the movie Tremors, I remember I was watching it because I had 3 brothers and they used to make me watch horrible movies. And Tremors was on the screen in the living room, and my brothers and I are watching it. My mom's on the phone in the kitchen, and she's looking out the window and talking about UFOs. And that's a weird thing to hear at 7 years old. And I was like, I remember being like, I'm a very empathic person. I remember being like that as a child, especially. And I remember going into the room and be like, Mom, what's wrong? What are you talking about UFOs? And she's on the phone. She's like, no. And she didn't want to scare me. So she like brushed it off like nothing. And that stood out in my mind. Love the movie Tremors. Yeah, it's a good, I guess it's okay.
A Zero Cool loves all 5 of them.
Oh my God, I've only saw the first one, guys. I didn't know there was 5. That's awful. That's awful. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be so judgmental, but it's not my favorite.
No worries.
So this has to do with aliens. Hold on.
No worries.
So she was, she's just kind of like, as a 7-year-old little girl who's empathic, you're like, why is my mom acting crazy and saying UFOs and aliens? Like, it was weird. So she never said anything about it. I'm 36 now, and about 2 years ago, I asked her about it. And I said, hey, Mom, did you ever see anything weird? Because I do remember being a kid and you kept talking about UFOs and looking out the window one night. And she, A, remembered what I was talking about, and B, actually told me.
Oh, give us 1 second. Just 1 second. You broke up a little bit. We'll give you a second to come back for it. Let you keep. That way you're not talking for no good reason. We're going to see what happens. I believe somebody was asking a minute ago about Ohio internet, but she's actually in Idaho. So we'll give her 1 second. Looks like, oh, there she is. She's coming back. All right. So,
no worries. I read the comments and someone said, is she thirsty 6? No, I'm 36.
Oh, you guys. Please, come on, guys.
I used to be a high school teacher, guys. Don't you? I'm so used to those comments.
Oh, man.
Big Willie, it's all good. I'm going to call him out. So anyway, so my mother, I asked her like 2 years ago, I was like, what did you see that night? And she goes, okay, I was driving home from church. And we lived about 1.5 miles from church. And it was a windy.
Oh, sorry. I was just sharing something similar.
I wanted to read that. No, I love it. No, you're fine. Don't apologize. I just wanted to read it real quick. So similar story, Melissa. My mom was driving home from church though the first night, and it's about 1.5 miles on a windy back country road in New Hampshire. And she's near Manchester, New Hampshire, by the way, guys, like right outside Manchester, New Hampshire, if anyone knows that area. And she was driving home, and she said a UFO was hovering above the van. She was driving like a minivan in 1992 with 4 kids. she's alone in the car that night, and this UFO was hovering over her car. Now my mom's from Dorchester, so she was like, "Oh no!" She's like, "You ain't gonna get me!" And she starts speeding up. And it's like, this is the funny story that she told me. I think she had a martini in her, but she was telling me the story. And she's like, starts speeding up, trying to beat the aliens or whatever. And it's just hilarious to me picturing her doing that. So she gets home, the UFO's gone, nothing happened. The next night is the night that I was like watching the movie Tremors. I remembered because she saw the UFO. It was hanging outside our house, like towards the north side of our house. It was hanging outside the window, and it was just like, and she could see it out the windows. And she called her friend to be like, "I think this thing's following me." So that's the night that I remembered when I was watching Tremors, and I thought that was a really cool story because my mom doesn't believe in aliens and she's not into this stuff.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty neat.
But it's so important too when we dig into this. I mean, and I always say too, just because someone else's story is different than yours doesn't make their story any less valid or yours. But I'm sure it really helps when someone has a very similar story, or it kind of helps confirm maybe something that you went through. But the commonality seems to be some of this lineage and the families dealing with it, and maybe it's so weird that we can be so close to our family members, but not talk about this weird thing, right? This one weird thing that's happened in our lifetime.
I know.
It's so strange. So even from an early on age, you found yourself sitting there in church, which is funny. So I'm taking it you grew up very religious and kind of hearing some of this stuff and going, I don't feel like I had a choice in this, essentially.
Yeah, I was already confused by 5 or 6, being like, this doesn't seem right. It didn't, and that goes back to listening to your inner intuition, even if you're a kid. I don't care how old you are, you should be listening to your inner guidance system, right? So there was a part of me that was like, I had Drag Race with a UFO is exactly like, right? My mom is too funny. But what else would you do?
I don't know what you do, but obviously if she knew, she called them out. I mean, she was like, nah, not today. Well, I mean, she's probably, you said she's in New Hampshire, so I mean, they got there's their own language out there. So.
Pretty much. So yeah, I guess my mom was drag racing a UFO.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, but definitely like listening to my, like, I remember my parents, I mean, I've always been close with my mom and dad. My dad's really cool. And he's really religious. So I used to ask him stuff all the time. I've always asked, I still to this day ask him questions about questioning his religious dogma and like the story of Jesus Christ. And do you really think that like Jesus really wanted this for you guys? Like, do you think this is really what he wanted? And I always questioned it, but it goes back to the question of life and death too. Like, what is going to happen after you're no longer embodied, so those were those questions have always intrigued me. And that's what brought me into hypnosis, to not only heal what you're dealing with right now as you're in a body, but also dealing with what is your soul and what is it doing. That's always been my thing.
I love that because it's so funny. I don't want to make any assumptions for you on this one, but I was raised in a very, religious upbringing. I would say right up to the age of almost 18, 19. I mean, I grew up in a church pew. So even to have those thoughts that I was having, which I totally did. I had those internal kind of processing of thoughts, of ideas, but didn't really voice those out loud too much, at least to everybody else in the community, as it were, because it wasn't really acceptable, right? You couldn't ask. There were certain questions that were not okay to ask.
Right.
And that always bothered me a little bit. I was always very respectful, but I always felt like anything should be able to be talked about, because if we're not going to talk about it, what are you going to do when someone finally asks that question? You've never had to talk about it or be positioned to defend or even discuss it. That was my point of view on it, was that it should at least be talked about. We should, if we don't know, we just say we don't know and leave it at that. Which there's a certain element that I think most people, and this isn't knocking religion or anything like that, but I think all of them would admit that clearly there's a level of faith, which is what you're supposed to have, that is required to believe in it. I mean, you're going to have faith. Even the stuff that we're going to talk about tonight. Some people don't believe in the regression therapy. I mean, for yourself, when you came across, so let's move on to that, I guess. When you moved into your 20s and you were teaching, so that was the career path you kind of went with, essentially?
Yeah. So, I mean, I went into teaching so I fell into the paradigm of like, this is what we do. This is what society's about. And through being a teacher, I was incredibly unhappy. I was so unhappy. I got really sick. Yeah, Earth can be probably viewed as a spiritual training ground for sure. It's like a spiritual boot camp. Yeah. I love the comments and I love to interact
Yeah.
with them. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine.
So
That's what it's all
I
about.
love it. It's so cool to be in real time with that. But through having a career and being a teacher,
Hmm.
I was not happy. I was actually getting pretty sick, like physically, like not feeling good at all.
Wow.
And hold on, yeah, I wasn't feeling good at all. And then I was learning to not trust the medical system because anytime I went to a doctor, they would just throw something at you, like a pill, a Band-Aid for when you have a gaping wound is basically what doctors do. And I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but a lot of them do. And I'm sorry. But that's my experience. And I can go into stories, but let's not. So anyway, so yeah, so I realized teaching was not going to be good for me. So what happened was I left teaching because I had the opportunity to start the aerial yoga studio where I was at. And that's a kind of a side thing I was doing for a bit. So for about 8 years, I was running an aerial yoga studio in New Hampshire, and I've sold it. It still exists. It's still there. And after I sold it, I've moved here to Idaho. But I got into the hypnosis right around the time, like right before COVID happened. I've always been curious about consciousness, especially being a yoga teacher
Hmm.
and being a teacher, and just being a general teacher. And yeah, and so I got into hypnosis because I've always been searching the soul and the meaning of life, and we have mind, body, spirit, right? The trifecta. Usually you hear in martial arts or anything else in wellness, it's mind, body, and soul.
Hmm.
And mind and body, okay, we've got a good grasp on that. We understand the mind, the intellect, the mental mind. We understand the physical body and how to treat it and stuff and work with the physical body. But I feel like what's lacking, especially in society today, is we're so far away from the soul. But I do feel that we're starting to come back to the soul, and more people. That's why these podcasts like this one is coming out, because more and more people are really curious about what is my soul
Yeah.
and what's the truth of spirituality, not some religion, but like, what is the truth here? And where did I come from if I have a soul? Because energy never
Hmm.
dies. And
Right.
we understand that the body is activated, embodied by a consciousness. What is that? And how is that working? So when we do hypnosis, and when we do past life regression in hypnosis, or just accessing God, source, or accessing higher wisdom, oh my gosh, and like spirit and science, Josh Casey, are
Hmm.
merging. And we're coming into a new time where humans are able to be questioned. Like, we can question religion more, we can question the system, we can question the way we've been parented, we can question a lot of things nowadays. And I think the internet has a lot to do with that. And in a sense, the internet is like the soul of human consciousness. It's the collective unconscious from Carl Jung. And
Yeah.
you can get a past life regression. You can bet, Melissa, you can get a past life regression. That's so easy, sweetheart. And I don't mean to like be condescending. Like, you can do it. Like, you can have a certified hypnotherapist like me do it via Zoom, or you can do it through a recording. There's some YouTube recordings for past life regressions, but honestly, it is way better. Those are good for practice, but it's way better to have a real good session with a practitioner who can walk you through a past life and find the meaning and the purpose of that past life. I get long-winded, Big Willie, so you can cut me off at any time. I can
No,
talk,
please.
so
Listen.
cut me
Everybody
off.
gets. They're not here to hear me. This is now the show is about bringing on a guest who's
Cool.
here. I am simply. You're the pilot right now. All I am is the
Okay.
navigator. We're here to.
Okay.
You're flying us around. You're driving the old blue right now, and
Oh, I
we're
like
enjoying the
that. And
conversation.
thank you. I love that analogy, because that's what hypnosis can be like. The hypnosis I do, at least, is when it's kind of like what you and I are doing right now. Whereas, like, let's say I'm the client and you're the hypnotherapist, and I'm just spieling my stuff, and you're kind of navigating and directing me where I need to go for the highest and best of whatever we're trying to accomplish here.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I think when I started doing, can I just say this real quick? When I started doing past life regressions, it did help me understand more about the soul and my soul. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well, let's see what this, I feel like Josh probably because Barbara Jean Lindsay brings up here very very interesting. I think anyone who's ever had, well, okay, personally, I can't say that I've had that. We get mixed reviews, and I think there's an importance to this. And
Yeah.
uh, NK is going to be coming on here hopefully next month. She had to cancel last week, unfortunately, due to some personal reasons, but she deals in this realm a little bit, and they have a little more apprehension. Not that they don't support regression, but they think it needs to be done under proper circumstances with the proper support, right? And so this is very interesting to get. This is why I was hoping to get the two of you, because it was kind of going to give a take on both
Oh, that would have
aspects
been
of this.
fun.
You know what I mean? But we can still do that because this is something you're doing, and I believe it is also something she can do, if I'm not mistaken. It's just that they agree that some people in the community within ufology, not always, but some have just been more concerned about getting the story out that they could put into a book than the actual individual and the trauma that they might have been through, you know. And I do feel like that's an area that sometimes gets a little bit lost in the mix, is the trauma that people do endure, whether that just be past childhood trauma, or if you've had an abduction or you've had some sort of an interaction, paranormal interaction, there could be trauma associated with that. And we can't forget that at the end of the day, there's still an individual here who dealt with this, more than just the story that's coming out, in my opinion. So I think you kind of need both. What do you say to people who feel, when they hear that you do past life regression, what do they think about you saying? Well, first of all, past life regression is like, it's a little bit of a leap for some people, right? To be fair. I mean, do people have a lot of apprehension when they hear you say this?
Depends who I'm talking to. If I'm talking to my mom and dad, if I'm talking to somebody who's very, very much a strict believer in their religious dogma,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's gonna ask anybody of anywhere. Like, some lessons are just imagining. It's a word I just made up, but they're imagining the whole thing. They're creating it, but it's okay because it's still the subconscious mind in an abstract vacuum, I guess, of abstract, in an abstract way, and resolve issues that they're having.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm not too concerned whether this is a legitimate past life regression or if it's just them healing and processing on the subconscious level, because that's what dreams are. Dreams, and Carl Jung again talks about this. He talks about the development of symbolism and the way the subconscious uses symbolisms to create emotions or pull out emotions or give a certain feeling or meaning. And what happens sometimes is we'll do a past life regression and the person might just be making it up. And I'm not concerned with that, whether they're making it up or if it's real. Like, they really were the Pharaoh of Egypt. I get a lot of pharaohs of Egypt. And that's fine.
Really?
There can't be
awesome.
that many pharaohs of Egypt. Yeah,
I don't know how to tell you this, but I ruled all of Egypt at one point in my life.
I get a lot
my
of
past
those.
life.
Very popular one.
I wonder why that is. I wonder why that archetype.
But at the end of the day, like, what is this woman's name again? MK. I just never addressed her correctly.
Yeah. If you haven't looked up NK.
So NK, what she's saying is that she's making a great point, which is the client's emotional well-being is of the utmost importance. Mm-hmm. Sharing their stories is only with their permission. So I do post and share stories on my YouTube channel of actual sessions, but only with client permission. And I never ever post in like personal, private things that and healing that occurred during that session. I leave it alone. Yeah. Because I'm not concerned whether or not that person was really Cleopatra in Egypt. I don't care.
I love this.
You know what I mean? I care about their healing. So Melissa, can I just adjust Melissa? So she says, I wish they would tell me how they built the pyramids. Girl, go on my YouTube when you have a second, when you think of it. And maybe the third or fourth last video I posted is a client that actually explains for about a half hour how the pyramids were built.
Very interesting. And for anybody who's wondering,
really
I just
cool.
put all of her links in the chat.
So go check that out, girl.
So
yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, that's
Oh, thank you. I'm gonna flip
no problem.
The chat real quick.
So guys, another thing to I guess focus on too is that I'm not in any sense saying that hypnosis is wrong or right, is the perfect thing. I think in my personal opinion, we're all such unique individuals that I really think it's gonna vary so much individual to individual. How can you put that into one? encapsulate it into like, this is it. This is the answer for everybody. In my opinion, we're all very unique and individual, and it
Yeah.
just might not be the right time, you know?
Oh my
That's all I
gosh.
would.
And I want to say, Big Willie, I got to say something because, okay, TV, meaning Hollywood, has really made things scary. Like, meaning they've made aliens and UFOs scary.
Mm-hmm.
And they make aliens seem like these beings come and hurt you, harm you, experiment on. And that's not always the case,
Yeah.
you know? And I think Hollywood does a really good job of making people afraid of aliens, and they do a good job of making people afraid of hypnosis.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, I'm afraid of hypnosis, I'm like, why? You do it every day. Like for probably 60% of your day, you're in hypnosis. You're in a hypnotic trance. So to be afraid of hypnosis is to be afraid of your existence. You are hypnotized. Now, I think what the fear actually is, if I can say this, I think the fear is I'm afraid of someone else trying to control me. And that's what Hollywood and that's what TV, the media has put in our brains, that's what hypnosis is. And that's not at all the deal. I don't control anyone's mind. On point,
Right.
Karlene. Thank you, Spooky. Yeah, that's not the deal. You can't do anything you don't want to do. That's bottom line. Hollywood makes people afraid. Yeah, Hollywood does, because it's drama, guys. It's drama. It's makeup. It's movies. It's everything that's like it's entertainment. And hypnosis for healing is your hypnotherapist is not trying to control you. That being said, be discerning about the hypnotherapist you choose. It does not have to be me. All right. I might not be your person, and that's okay. If our energy doesn't jive, that's perfectly fine. I always do a consultation with my clients, and I give them like a 20-minute audio to listen to that helps them prepare to get into hypnosis to my voice. And at any point in time, they can go, this isn't for me. I don't want to do it. I don't trust you, or they don't say that, but that's okay.
Right.
They might be like, I don't really trust her. I don't like her voice, or I'm having a hard time with this. And that's fine. But in hypnosis, be discerning about the hypnotherapist you choose, because there are some egos out there. But I'm telling you, and your audience, you can't do anything ever that you wouldn't want to do. I think stage hypnotists make it seem like you would start doing something weird, but that's not true. You only do what you're accepting, and you're actually in complete control. And at any point in time in a hypnosis session, you could open your eyes and just say, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just reading Josh's comment. You're fine.
Yeah, Josh has an amazing experience. Obviously he's come on a couple of times and shared some of what he has going on, and he was at the Bledsoe's property last week, and I think he might be going out this weekend maybe. So he's someone who not even 6 months to a year ago really was a complete denial. He thought all this was ridiculous, and then he had an experience, and it completely changed his view on life right now. So it's been awesome that he's been able to find this community. And I hope that he feels loved by us and doesn't feel like we're trying to take his story or anything like that, because he has an amazing story that I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to in the future, in the very near future. So, but it is a struggle. I mean, it's really opening up for him without telling his story or anything. It's not just one thing. It's not just been, I had this one encounter and that was it. It's now becoming a very consistent thing and opening up to the shadow realm and just a lot of things. So it's pretty amazing in some ways, but also this is the other part where it comes in, where it can be a bit terrifying. And I think the idea of that healing process at times, because I have noticed with some experiencers that it could be equated to when someone has a trip, whether it be DMT, ayahuasca, or anything like that, where they have this dissolving of one's ego that seems to evaporate a little bit. And it really puts things in perspective as to where you're at, who and what you are. And I think when that happens, that's a lot to deal with, no matter how together you have your stuff. You know what I mean? That's a lot to take in. So Josh, we give you props for it. And for anybody who's doing work like yourself, I mean, getting back to that a little bit, what, I mean, I guess, how did you even start that process? You were talking about the people you trained under. So you were teaching. How did we end up from you being, a school teacher to like, hey, bam, I'm going to go over and, and jump into this?
So I mean, when I had a studio, I had a yoga studio. I left teaching because I was miserable. I was getting sick all the time, etc. And then I was owning a studio. And I think when COVID happened, and without getting too political here and hitting any trigger buttons, but when COVID happened, I had an awakening myself where I was like, this doesn't smell good. And I want to just back up. And I was a teacher. I was a high school teacher, guys. I was a political science major and a U.S. history major. So I taught U.S. history and political science. I am well versed in the American government, and I traveled to Europe and studied in Europe as well. So I felt I had a solid enough foundation where I was like, this don't smell right. And everything that's been happening in the last 2 years hasn't smelled great to me. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And that's it. And that's all I got to say. But the biggest thing, I moved into hypnosis because I realized people needed to start going inside.
Yeah.
The internet is a beautiful thing, but it's a Pandora's box. And we are constantly on screens. And when we were all quarantined and locked down, we were really on our screens. The screens actually are hypnotizing you. The screens you are watching all day long, and even right now, maybe my voice talking to you, it's all hypnosis. You're actually being hypnotized right now. And when you're scrolling mindlessly through a Facebook feed or a social media feed, you are being hypnotized. So to stay hypnosis scares you would be silly because you do it to yourself all day long. And what's happening is you're scrolling through all these memes and information and watching TV or whatever. You're being, information is constantly being input into your system, constantly. And you might consciously not remember all of it, but at the subconscious level, your brain is processing everything you're exposing it to on a screen, whether it's a cell phone, a tablet, a desktop, a laptop, or a TV. You're constantly inputting information. So you really need to be selective about who and what you watch, because MSM can give a, okay. I'm going into realms where I always get a little nervous, but MSM is very good.
Listen, it's part of it.
And the government is very good at this stuff. So to say you're afraid of hypnotism, I mean, guys, you've been under their spell for a long time. Yeah. So I started to wake up when things started going a little bit weird 2 years ago. And when I was in lockdown, I started to wake up and I was like, I need to get out of this. I need to get out of where I am now and move into a world where I can start to help people be unhypnotized from from their lives. So I actually the ironic part is I got into hypnosis to help people get unhypnotized from MSM or the mainstream dialogue.
Mainstream media, baby, just call it. I mean,
it's not just the mainstream media too. And Big Willie, it's that. And it's also like everything in your culture, everything you've been taught who you are. And it's like, I'm trying to get people back to their souls. But really, it's kind of a narcissistic plight because I'm doing it because I want to get back to my soul.
But I totally,
I'm doing it because I'm doing this for other people because I wanted to figure out how to do it my own myself.
Yeah. No, I agree that what Josh is saying here, because for me it happened about maybe not even 2 years ago. It was a couple months before everything shut down, right? Like the end of 2019. I just kept really focusing on this idea of thoughts and where thoughts come from, because like I don't concentrate very well, and I always was like, where are these thoughts coming from, right? And I was really just, I guess, dwelling on that as much as I could with a brain that doesn't concentrate very well. And I was like, there has to be a reason why this. And so I was reading into just the ideas of what is behind it. Because for me, my brother and I, we have two very different brains. We've talked about it in our podcast before. He's very concise. He knows what he's going to say. Nothing comes out of his mouth that he doesn't mean or intend to come out. And for me, I have literally no idea what I'm going to say before I start talking. I've never once in my life ever been like, I'm going to formulate a sentence and then put it out. I'd have to write it down, because if I can't do that. I just don't function like that. And so I always wondered, like, where is that coming from? And then hitting on what you're talking about, this idea that everything is kind of programming behind that, and there's something there. And then you start to dig into like the old philosophical ways of philosophers that talked about this. And I started looking at how every successful person or motivational speaker always dealt with the mind first. You had to change it and think it in your mind before anything out here was going to manifest or change this reality. But if you could get in there, you can change your reality. And that's where it gets, to me, really exciting. I know it's easier said than done, but we have to recognize the idea that And again, I backtrack. It's mainstream media is very broad, but it's like you're saying, all of it. It's the music, it's the television,
Yeah.
it's the whole entity that
Yes.
is everything we've been
Yeah.
taught to be as a human being,
Yes.
and this
80% of who you
everything.
are, 80% of who you are is TV and music and your parents, right? And
Yeah,
your friends. That's you don't you're not you. You're not you. Because you've been so heavily influenced. All of us have, not just you, Big Billy. Sorry.
oh, you're okay. No.
Turn off the noise and look inside. Spooky is exactly my message. Exactly. Your healing is in here, right here. You already got it.
Now, with people doing past life regressions, let me just hit on that for just a second, because you have something really exciting, guys. I had never heard of this one before. I'd heard of the past life regressions. I had heard of the idea of soul contracts, but I'd never heard of progress. I think I'm saying this right. Is it progression? Is that what it's called?
Progression.
Which is like
To just go forward.
to go
You can go
forward.
to the future. Yeah.
We're gonna hit on that in a second, because that to me, I'm like, that's kind of exciting, guys. I've never even looked at that. But the idea of digging into someone's past life, what are the pros and cons of that? Is it just giving someone a better understanding, or how do you approach that, I guess?
So past life regression, the value of it, I really found through Dolores Cannon. And I think a lot of your followers might have heard of her. And if they haven't, please look into her. You're going to love it. Dolores Cannon was one of the major hypnotherapists or regressionists. So she's done thousands of cases, wrote over 25 books. She did pass away in 2015, but she wrote 25 books. And I might be wrong. It might be 23, 24. But she wrote a good amount of books documenting her thousands of past life regressions. And her work is just the way she cared about her clients and the way she had developed an understanding of, if you go into a past life, you can access your soul's history. So this goes back again to Carl Jung's collective unconscious, accessing like Akashic records, like accessing your soul's entire database, entire memory. And so she was working with the soul of her clients, and what have you been through, and what does it have to do with where you are now? And then how is it going to affect your soul in future lives? Because when we talk about this quantum healing that Dolores Cannon did in past life regression work, time is not linear in the way that our brains usually want to compartment. We're very limited as human beings in our brains.
We are a little sometimes.
I love Dolores. Yeah. So soul contracts, Josh. If you know Dolores Cannon, if you don't know her, I would recommend you look her up after this podcast. She will fascinate you and keep you riveted for hours and days and months and years. She's amazing. Okay. So yeah, got me on Dolores. Sure. So you're looking at time is not linear, and you're looking at your soul and what it's been through and how it's affecting you now in this life. Because what you can do, this is like a quantum healing thing, is I want to give you an example. So let's say somebody's very overweight in this lifetime. They just eat and they're like, well, I don't know why I do it. I just do it. And there seems to be no reasonable reason in this particular lifetime. So as a hypnotherapist, you might work through that, like go through their current life. Did something happen in childhood? Is there a reason they're overeating? It's an anxiety or a comfort thing or a protection thing? What's going on? And if there seems to be no reason, sometimes the reason is actually in a past life, meaning they overeat in this life because one client I had, she was very, very, very attractive in her last life. And her boyfriend killed her, murdered her because he was very jealous. So in this life, she is like, I'm going to protect my body from ever being super attractive, because super attractive equals danger, equals me getting hurt. So sometimes it's like you're the way you died in a past life. So I always have throat issues. My whole life I've had throat issues, like throat chakra issues. And I have like this giant weird like birthmark on my neck and everything. So I did a past life regression, and I actually died as a Native American boy. I tell this story in some of my YouTube videos. I was shot by an arrow right here in my throat. And in this past life regression, I don't want to freak out your listeners, but I want you to know that I have such a greater understanding of death and a really great respect for the process of being born and then being deceased, and like that whole process of coming into a body and then leaving the body. Because in past life regression, sometimes you do go through a death. Dolores Cannon did that a lot. So I'm trained in her modality. And when I was shot by an arrow under hypnosis, I went in. There was blood. I could see, feel it, taste it.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden I got really tired, like the most tired I've ever felt in my life. And I was like, I just want to sleep. I just want to go to bed. And your physical body doesn't wake up from that sleep. And then what happened was my consciousness brought me into a state where I believe I went back to God, meaning, if I can describe this, it felt like, like a lava lamp, how it's like this weird gelatinous that's kind of oozing back and forth. And it's really slow, but it's pulling. So I felt this weird magnetic pull, and it felt like I was like God's source was a giant lava. What is that stuff called in a lava lamp? That stuff. Whatever that's called, lava. It was called.
I know magma is like
magma?
From the regular one,
okay,
but I don't know
magma.
what we're gonna call
lava
it.
Lamp magma. So
heck
so
yeah,
it was
we're
like
running with it now.
Bright, white, like brightest white you could ever imagine in your life, and it was pulling me into it, and it felt so like I was going home. So I've experienced what I understand to be one variation of death. And I understood that by dying as an 11-year-old boy by an arrow to my throat, that like I'm still dealing with that in this life. I've had tonsillitis. I got strep throat 11 times in 1 year. When I was 11 years old, in this life now, the age I died as a Native American boy, in this life now, when I was 11, the same age that boy died, I got strep throat 11 times in 3 months. So, and I have had tonsillitis. I'd had my tonsils removed. I've had a lot of issues with my throat. So that's the point, is like you asked, what is the point of it? It actually, once I did that past life regression, all my throat issues went away. So through visiting those past lives and through kind of like revisiting that experience, that memory, you actually get to heal it. And then through time, as time isn't linear, through time and space, it actually gets healed in this current life. Does that make sense? So
no, yeah, I love that. That's a great way of wording it.
Life, yeah, Dolores talks about that a lot. It's through visiting that past life that you get to understand and heal from it. I'm hoping this makes sense to people.
Yeah. Hey, and everybody's at a different time. I mean, I think we can all relate to this. I've heard things.
Yeah.
I heard things even 6 months ago that I was shaking my head at. I mean, I will always respectfully go into any conversation and try to.
You can shake.
I can shake my head at you, you said?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do that.
You can shake your head.
Listen, I always tell people.
People do it to me all the time. I'm in Idaho. Shake their head at me all the time. And I'm like, that's fine. I don't care. That's where you're at.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing for me is like, I look at it as, who is it? Was it Galileo that said that the sign of intelligence is a person that can have a detailed conversation or immerse themselves in a conversation that they don't even believe in? And I've always tried to encapsulate that. I've always tried to, no matter what, have the conversation and be respectful of the person to give their position. Because first of all, if you can't allow a person to explain their position, even if you have the answer for them, you're not going to know where they're coming from. So how are you ever going to try and help them? And then secondly, who are we to think we've figured it all out? You're either going to do one of two things. You're either going to reinforce your current position and belief system, or you're going to learn something new and grow. So, I mean, to me, you're kind of in a win-win situation. There's only like two things. There's only two subjects I can ever think of that I've always said, I won't sit there and try to get on board and see where you're coming from. And they're pretty heinous things. They're like heinous crimes that we all agree are deeply wrong. So other than that, anybody can come in with anything. We had somebody on not long ago. A Jim Bim came out and told us he can go invisible. That's a big one. I'd never heard that before. It's a big one, but we talked about it and we let him express how this works for him. But for me, like I said, who knows? I'm not him. And maybe in 2 years, all of a sudden, I'm going to come on and go, guess what, guys? Jim Bim was right. You can totally go invisible. I don't know. So I think it's amazing you're expressing this stuff, because even if someone doesn't agree with it now, I always try to go back every like a year or so and check out stuff I've checked out before that didn't really resonate with me and see if something's changed.
It's incremental, and it's like you're a baby and you can't just have a steak dinner when you're an infant, right? You have to slowly digest these things over time. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, I would think that past life regression was a total crock. So anyone who thinks it's a crock, I'm like, that's fine. I mind your own mountain, meaning mind your own path. Like, you're on your
Yeah.
own route, they're on theirs. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them to walk with you. You don't need to force anybody to walk the same path as you. Let them be where they are.
Yeah. By the way, Christina Carlson, I'm married, just so you know. That's I'm just kidding. That's actually my wife. She just hopped on there.
I was like, oh God.
I've had worse than that. But hey, what's up, babe? How's it going? Hopefully the kids are asleep for us. We'll see what's going on up there.
Aw.
Yeah, one thing I'd love to hit on a little bit too, because you've done a beautiful job at explaining, at least trying, right? There's years and years of this research, and I always find it so interesting when someone's like, well, explain that in 10 minutes. And it's like, sure, here we go. Here are the bullet points.
Yeah.
So
And there's a lot of nuance, you know.
there is. But let's deal with the idea, because I know you don't have a whole lot of time here, and I'm already actually at my max with you. So I would love to hit on the progression at least,
Yeah.
and explain that, because I have
Yes.
never really looked into
Sure.
this ever.
Okay. Yes. Progressions. I didn't know they were a thing. Dolores alludes to them in some of her books, so I just want to circle back to that for a second.
Mhm.
But when I had my own QHHT session, which is a Dolores Cannon session, with a practitioner in Massachusetts, she actually took me into a future. I thought it was my life now, in the future of my life now, but I think it was a future life that I'm going to live. These
Wow.
can happen this has happened by accident to me many times, where I've been working with a client and they accidentally go into the future. One client, I'll go back to my story, but one client I had one time, it surprised me. She actually slipped into a future where she was in Japan, and she was a man in Japan, and it was like they had just had a war. And she worked for some software company, and it was I was thinking it was the past because it was Japan after a war. So I'm thinking Hiroshima or Nagasaki. No, it was the future because of the technology that she was witnessing. And when she came out of trance, she was like writing down and drawing what she saw. And I was like, we didn't understand it. It was weird technology. I had a progression where a person, like I had said, in Massachusetts had taken me. She was trying to do a past life, and I went to the future, and I saw myself living in some kind of weird community in a desert of wall tents and stuff. It was very strange. And I had a different body, almost alien. It was like a hybrid body. It was like I was a human, but I also was very tall, like unnaturally tall. And my limbs, my fingers, and everything were very long, and it was just a strange body. But it was human, but it wasn't. It was different. So this is the cool story I think your listeners will really like, is another girl that I had worked with. Accidentally, we were doing past life regression. Accidentally, we were in a progression, which means the future, in her current life. She was having a dispute with her wife, who she is married to now.
Okay.
They were having a fight, and then it progressed further into that evening of the fight. And she was in her car, and this is in New Hampshire on a back windy road, and she knew the area. It was in Concord, New Hampshire, and she doesn't live there, but she knew the area. And she's like, I'm driving my car, and then all of a sudden there's a blackout, and when she comes back to in this progression, she's standing in front of her car looking up at the sky at a UFO leaving.
Wow.
So she's a UFO believer. She's a paranormal investigator, I know, back in Manchester, New Hampshire. And when we did this progression, which was an accidental progression, I rarely do them on purpose.
Okay.
If ever, because the future isn't always what we need. But anyways, yeah, she was standing before a UFO leaving her, and she's standing in front of her car watching a UFO leave. And so we were trying to figure out, we spent about an hour on that particular future memory.
See why? I mean,
Trying to
that's
figure
so
out
much
what
to.
that was.
I was gonna say that's so much to I mean, how does one really process that? Sunsaver kind of brings up an interesting point here, which is could be remote viewing by accident, and we've seen even CIA documents. I have one on my phone. I've hit on this several times. It talks about them remote viewing. I want to say I can't remember millions of years in the past on Mars. It was now the past might seem different, but again, if we're coming back to the idea that time is not linear, it's kind of just an illusion at this point. You know what I mean? Like it's a very, if nothing else, it's a universal, non-ending source of some sort. And it's just the way that we process. I remember that broke my mind when I was a kid. Again, being really raised in a really religious home. I had a moment where it was like, I was probably 9 or 10, and we would do Bible study at the house, and Dad was reading the spot talking about how like in the beginning was God, and God, well, the word was with God, and how God, there was no beginning and no end. And it like legit made me go pale, like trying to think about this for a while, because I was like, it
Yeah.
did register, right? Like we're just, everything for us has always been taught as the beginning.
Infinity.
Right. And now I love the fact that I don't understand it, right? Like I'm okay with that. I'm just enjoying the journey at this point. But at that 10-year-old stage, it was like, how can something not be that never was and never will be and will never end? It
Yeah.
really, really could not get my mind around it. And at a certain point, I think you just have to say it is what it is and just enjoy it. I mean, everybody do their own thing, but for me, that's more where I'm at. I'm definitely starting to realize that this life that I viewed, that I thought I had figured out or thought we knew how things were, it's not maybe the case, and that's kind of a beautiful thing in some ways. I don't know what your thoughts on that might
Yeah.
be,
It's
comparison to
really,
where,
we don't really understand it.
yeah. Now, what am
It's no, and it's a good point. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, go ahead. It might sometimes it glitches out for a second and we'll get lost in time, but you go ahead and tell me what you were gonna say.
I was just going to respond and say that you're absolutely right. We don't really understand time and space. I mean, we can look to the teachings of, let's say, physicists like Albert Einstein. We can look at Stephen Hawking's writings. I used to read those all the time. I used to read their books. Who's the other guy? I'm going to say this wrong. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh yeah, I know. You did way better than I did with your last name, so you're already
Exactly.
winning. Neil deGrasse Tyson, yeah, yeah.
So if you read like what astrophysicists are working on,
Hmm.
Stephen Hawking does have a book that's like for the more like the everyday mind, right? So I like if you read their texts and if you look at Carl Jung and stuff like that, you can start to piece together this idea of like there's more to this world than what we're actually seeing and viewing, and we're just scratching the surface. And just again, be open-minded,
Hmm.
because we don't really have all the pieces to this puzzle, and we're trying to fill all those holes in.
Yeah.
I'm just reading Josh's comments.
Yeah, very intriguing
Cool.
stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, time's not linear, and understanding infinity, like as a child, just blows your mind. Trying to understand infinity,
Hmm.
the fact that the universe is ever expanding and that there was existence before the Big Bang. I mean, these things are wild. These things are wild, and they're very difficult
Hmm.
for our human mind to comprehend. And Dolores Cannon was a big proponent that human beings, you and I, were actually hybrids from aliens. We were chimps, and then we are an experiment that is being monitored. And we're
Yeah.
still being monitored, and that's why abductions occur. Dolores Cannon was big on that, and she worked with a lot of like, is it MUFO, MUFO? Am I saying that right? I'm so sorry if I'm not. She worked with UFO organizations, and she
Oh,
worked with a
MUFON. Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of MUFON. Thank you. She worked with
Yep.
a lot of alien abductions, and she was very close with those groups in the 90s and early 2000s. And she did a lot of alien abductions, and she did a lot of work with people who were abducted or might have had spirit guides that were aliens.
I would love to hit on that for a second too. And I know we're shifting back to childhood a little bit, but I think it's so important sometimes, I feel, that a lot of us had experiences when we were kids that we've either chalked up as misunderstood, or maybe we just had a big imagination, whatever it might have been. We've kind of rationalized it over the years. And I do remember, I mean, besides, and I've only briefly like hinted at with like, well, I'll have to one time go with Ben and Joe and talk about everything, but I definitely had some stuff that happened that I recognize either as it was a real experience or something traumatic, because you can have traumatic things happen from just other people in this earth, happened when I was younger. But one thing that always stuck with me was I always felt like, and it was weird because the way we were taught, we had like, oh, there's heaven, there's paradise, like the loved ones we've lost are there, and but they can't really see us or whatever. Or no, they could still see us. But I always felt like I was being watched. Like I always felt like when I was making decisions, it always felt like someone was there with me. And
Yeah.
I don't know what that was all about as a young kid. I was like, is it imagination or what? Like, it was weird. I would literally be doing something like, would this make my grandfather proud? It was, like people I didn't even know. You know what I mean? It was kind of a strange thing that always, I guess, I would ask other people, and some people do feel that way, and then most though feel like they don't. They were like, no, I never really had that, and I was like, well, I
I
thought
have
most of us
felt
did.
that my whole life.
Yeah.
So I'm curious in the comments, anybody else feel like this? Because I felt like that my whole life that I've been watched.
Yeah.
And I can't really answer if you're being watched by extraterrestrials, guides, spirit guides,
Right.
angels, or your ancestors, or ride this one out with me that we are constantly surrounded by energy and some of it is conscious.
Hmm. I,
So I don't
I
know.
one thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately is and I'm not somebody, this isn't like, I never want anybody to think that like I'm trying to sell something like, oh, this is my idea, this is stuff that's being talked about, but the idea that perhaps consciousness itself is one of the other dimensions that we just don't quite understand. It's much more than this idea, because we've always boiled it down to such a simple format of basically sentient life, which kind of really simplifies what consciousness can really be. Because and it can get dark, because some people are like, well, where are you taking us? You think we're just a brain sitting in a jar? And I'm like, I'm not saying that, but the idea that all of this could legitimately be something you're just experiencing. And it sounds silly, and I've compared this, maybe somebody, if you're listening, you're just getting on board with some of the stuff. So to compare it to this, I hate doing this, but like The Sims or video games, that thing in there doesn't know that it's in there, right? It doesn't know it's a
Yeah.
game. And we immerse ourselves in the game, especially with like VR and stuff. Now you fully immerse yourself in this game and you play this character, and sometimes time can become very like non-existent in those moments. And then you come out of it and you're like, oh, it's over. But what if this was even more than that? I'm not trying to oversimplify it, but what if you just wake up and some of this, everything you've just experienced was only a little bit of time and you just didn't know that? And I don't know. Who knows? And that's the fun stuff about this. Is like we can speculate all day. We don't, I mean,
Exactly. And
yeah.
that's why I do the work I do, because I'm trying to figure it out. And I have a very curious mind, as you do and your listeners do. And it's like we're trying to figure this out. So it's cool because it's what I've noticed in the last few months is like when I'm doing past life regressions, or the intention is to do a past life regression, that you actually don't, my clients have not been going into past lives. They've actually been going back to other dimensions, or going back to source, whatever that means to people. Source, God,
Yeah.
you can the universal, like the motherboard, whatever you want to
Hmm.
call it. And so more and more people are going back to there. And then when they get there, what I start doing is my curiosity kicks in, and I'm like, I'm gonna ask some freaking questions here, because I want to freaking know what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
And she had me at Scorpio.
Love spooky.
Right, girl? Right? No, but seriously, and so yeah, so I think that that's what I'm trying to uncover in the work I'm doing. I'm not trying to exploit my clients. I'm working in tandem with my clients to heal them.
Yeah.
And that's my goal too, because I think that's another part of my project, is like when we heal each individual person, we're healing the collective. And when
Yes.
you heal an individual person, you're healing their soul and the lots of timelines that their soul has been through. So
Hmm.
this work is important because it helps them progress in this current life that we need now. And humans need to progress right now. We need to progress. We are our fears are being mirrored back to us. That's what you're seeing in the last couple of years. We're seeing all of our fears being mirrored back at us. I mean, we've been seeing that since the dawn of human existence, by the way.
Hmm.
But I just want to speak in like modern terms too. I mean, just remember that whenever stuff gets really crazy and wild in the world, it's just mirroring back the collective,
Yeah.
humans, collective. You can call it unconscious, but it's mirroring back what is going on, our fears and what we still need to evolve out of. And I'm apologizing if I'm going way off on a tangent. I do tend to do
No.
that.
No. This is what it's all
My
about.
brain just goes. My brain is like, brr, 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 brr. So it goes in a lot of different directions. But this is all, it's all part of like my mission is to help people heal, because when you heal one, you heal a lot.
Hmm.
You heal many on the collective level. And this
Yep.
work is important because we're starting to uncover these secrets. We're uncovering truths about what are we? Where did we come from? and what the heck, where are we going, and what's going on? So yeah.
Well, and I hate to get like, again, I keep this separate from my show or from working here with Joe and Ben, but like on the show that I do with my brother, I mean, he's the person who knows laws inside and out, like the actual laws of the land, right? That's his realm, the political realm, and so he plays with that. And I bring this side.
Man rules,
yeah, and
rules.
it matters when you're covering some of the stuff that went on with the phenomenon related to UFOs and things of that nature, because understanding how the government works and how it's all compartmentalized, it is important to bring in that aspect of it. But to take it a step further, where I got really interested was when the Rockefellers and some of those guys really involved in the early education system of the 1900s, and they formed the political school board, or the public education board is what it is now. And we changed a lot. I mean, there's so much that has altered, and we're now 4 generations out from that. So for us, we're not even questioning it. It's just become, well, this is the way it's always been. And I think there's so much missing there, that at the turn of that century, how they're trying to make a human being live their life is literally killing them. I feel it kills the soul slowly. I'm sorry, go ahead, please.
That's called mass hypnosis.
It really is. It's so bad.
What it is.
Yeah. I mean, look at the push to push people into this inner cities. And yes, cities are beautiful and they're nice and they're helpful and everything's near us. But the difference, I was working with a buddy just this past week, and we live in a not massive city, but there's about 60 something thousand people, I think, here where we live. And going about an hour out to where he lives in the country, just the smell of the air, to actually smell nature, like trees, just smelling leaves and just smelling nature. I don't get that here. Even with the trees and the grass and the stuff we have here, it just doesn't exist. The idea of grounding, like you hit on that in some of your bio there, that's a huge one for me. I think it's so important, whatever it might be, putting your hands in the dirt, touching a tree. I'm not saying like hugging a tree. You can do what you want though. If you want to hug the trees, hug the crap out of those trees. Whatever helps you reconnect back to nature. I mean, I think Ryan Bledsoe, and Josh, you might know this, Ryan Bledsoe had said that his dad had been told that the idea that God or source, whatever you want to call it, is literally nature. It's nature itself is that. So for me, I've always tried to really focus on that one. And we don't see any of that in our current educational system. So, and I'm not knocking education, just to be clear, but it's got some problems.
If you want to understand the artist, you have to look at his works. So Carl Jung talks about this. When you want to understand God, you have to look at what he's created, nature. Mm-hmm. The patriarchal system, the capitalistic system, just whatever label you want to throw at this, what we're living in now is so far from nature. And it's kind of a detriment, because think about what the white man did who came from Europe. He came into this continent that was inhabited by natives, tribes, who worked in tandem with nature. They respected that everything in nature had a spirit, an energy, a god to it. You can call it a god, but it's an energy, a spirit to it. And the natives worked with spirit. They worked with energy. We came, meaning white people from Europe, and we decided that wasn't good enough. We wanted a capitalistic system. Well, eventually we did, right? Adam Smith. Yeah. We wanted a different system. We wanted something else. And so what we've done is we've turned America, as George Carlin said. Is it George Carlin? Yeah, I almost said Carlton. George Carlin said we've turned America into one giant shopping mall. One giant effing paved shopping mall. What you're seeing, the disease in society today, or the literal virus in society today, literal and figuratively, is our disconnect from nature. We have disconnected from the importance of mothering. We've disconnected, and I can get into that later. Like, I don't want to get into, like, I'm not saying mothers at all. I'm saying the most important job is to be a mother. And the reason we have so much anxiety, depression, insomnia, overweight, obesity, health issues is because we have not as a collective in modern society mothered well. So look at tribal communities. When you have a baby, the community, the tribe raises that baby, and they're very connected to nature and spirit and energy. We decided when we were trying to evolve ourselves into capitalism that wasn't good enough. That wasn't going to work anymore. We wanted to have materialistic things, and we still do, don't we? So so circling back to what you're saying, yes, we've disconnected from nature. And the way to get back to God is, and get back to our hearts and compassion, kindness, non-judgmental living, getting back to the center of our energetic bodies, which is our heart center, is nature. The color of the heart chakra is green. When you think of nature, you think of green. Green leaves, green grass. Nature in the heart center. When we go back to nature, we go back to the heart. We go back to the community. We go back to the connection of human existence. And we've become so disconnected from that. That's why we are suffering from viruses, literally and figuratively. Mental viruses, physical viruses, whatever it is. I might be going off too hard on that right now.
There's a lot to it. I think
I can pull back a bit because I think I'm going a little too crazy, but
okay.
We need to be connected to nature. We need to reconnect to humans. We need to reconnect to community. And we have become so big and the internet has been so wonderful, but we really, guys, as a society, we need to heal. That's the ultimate truth.
Look at what Tammy said. I mean, like she said, don't knock trees until you do it. I mean, obviously, Sun Saver says he hugs trees. It's right on his bio. You know, I think the importance, I have often wondered now, and this isn't exclusive, but I've noticed, you know, when it comes to Bigfoot or and even some of the UFO encounters or paranormal encounters, a lot of outdoorsmen or outdoors people experience this. And I've often found it, like my father who raised me was a huge outdoorsman. Like he just loved being in nature. Even if he didn't, I mean, he was a big, you know, hunter and everything, but even if he didn't get anything that day, he just loved sitting in nature. That was like his goal, right? He would sit out there from sun up to sundown. Like he loved it. But it was his form. I don't think he ever admitted it, but it was like his form of meditation. He wasn't a person who was all about meditation or anything like that. Yes. But looking back, I'm like, oh, that was how he meditated, essentially. And I've often wondered when one meditates, which is something I need to do, Spooky. I'm so sorry. I promise I will do it. I promise I will. I need to try and meditate. I feel that for those outdoorsmen sitting there just being in nature and being open-minded, maybe that's why the phenomenon reveals itself to them, you know?
Yes. Yeah. The guy I'm dating is he's not a yoga person. He's not a conscious person. He's not a meditator. But he actually is. He is, because he loves nature and he loves spending time in nature. And a walk in the woods is more valuable as a meditative experience than just sitting and saying Om sometimes for some people.
Yeah. And that could be, you know, that's a great point. I never thought of it that way because I'm not, again, you know, I forget what is it, ADHD or what? I've never like medically got it, but clearly whatever. That is. Yeah, I've got the running squirrel in my head, is it, where I joke about, or like it's always bringing questions. So sitting still was always very hard for me, but it was always curious. Like I wanted to explore. It wasn't the idea of not wanting to explore, but I do think the idea that maybe there's different forms of meditation for some people. So yeah, I guess I could look in that. And one thing I've noticed too, and I remember this happened to me, I don't know, maybe like maybe 12, somewhere in that age range, where every time I closed my eyes, I would get these almost like if I tried to meditate, because I did try a little bit, guys. Spooky, I tried it one time. I did try more than once. But I would get like swirling like pops, like little like circles. And when I asked my mom about it, I was like, what's up with that? She was like, oh, that's high blood pressure. And I was like, well, okay. And so I never wanted to concentrate that again. And then I came across your episode where you were talking to Lynn about that. And I was like, oh, that's a different answer. So maybe, you know, and at the time it made sense. I was like really overweight. And I was like, oh, that's 100% probably just high blood pressure, because it can be if you're like seeing the veins or whatever in your eyes, it could be. But now it's gone from like the popping circles to like they're like faint. And I was talking to Spooky about this the other day, like like symbols, and they're not super clear. They're foggy. So I was telling him, I was like, all right, I promise I will try to like go meditate and see if something opens up a little more. So I'm curious for everybody in the chat too, have you guys experienced like,
what is it? But what is, can I say something?
Yeah, I'm talking. Sorry. Go ahead. I was rambling.
You can talk.
Okay.
But what I wanted to say is to you is, what does it matter what it is? Does it matter? Like, no. Does it matter? And it's, and whatever you're seeing. So it's, I mean, whatever. I mean, meditation for some people is sitting and closing their eyes and saying Om. For some people, it's sitting and being still and just breathing. For some people, it's walking in nature. For some people, it's just driving and processing. It doesn't have, it can be listening to music. It can be saying a mantra. Like, please do not, anyone listening to this, do not get caught up in the idea. I think that's where we get tripped up as humans. We try to be very rigid in our thinking. Like, this is the way you do it. And this is it. And I want people to be a little bit more fluid. Like, be fluid. Like, you don't have to be, not everything's going to look this one way. Like it would be like giving somebody a guitar and saying the only way to play guitar is like this, like Carlos Santana, and there's no other way to play guitar. That's not
well, good luck.
No, there's no other, and to say that there's no other way to play guitar, I mean, we all know that's silly, that's ludicrous. There's no one way to meditate. Guitar playing, as Josh just said, can be the meditation. I do aerial. I play music. I get up on these 2 pieces of fabric, like in Cirque du Soleil, and I will dance on the fabric. I do all this acrobatic movements that I know, sequences I know, or I freestyle and make stuff up as I go. That is my meditation sometimes. Some days it looks like that. So you can't just hand someone a guitar and say the only way to play is like Carlos Santana, and that's meditation. No. There's a million ways to play this guitar. There's a million ways to do meditation. The goal, and you can still create music no matter what. Yeah. And that's what I really wanted to hone in. I'm sorry to like
no.
Yeah, you're seeing my personality. I'm like, no, wait.
Listen,
I have to tell you.
I 100% get that. Who and what I am when I'm behind the mic that I put together and hold together for like 2-3 hours is going to be way different than when you guys meet in a conference. Like, I'm not that person. I'm the kind of person who's going to be like all over and like not collected and calm or any of that. I'm very, I don't know. I feel like you'd probably be the same. I've always felt people's energy. So wherever you go, and people can call it whatever, the terms don't really matter to me. I think just what you're feeling is what you're feeling. So feeling people's energy has always fed me, both positively and negatively, but it always usually energized me. So just helping people feel good. If I could help, and I recognize the badness in this, where if you're helping them feel good, it made you feel better. And that can be a weird thing sometimes, but it did help far as just that energy. People were so much more than the face that I'm looking at, their name, their job, and what they do. Like, there's so much more there than that. And it's been an amazing experience to kind of, I guess, start to allow myself to open up to that a little more. Do an amazing community. Like I mean, Joe and Ben are not the only ones in the community, but obviously this is how I came into the community, was through them. And they've created a great group here that comes and supports almost every week. We have people who show up, and I definitely believe in the collective consciousness, like you were talking about, helping one heal helps heal all. And the collective consciousness is a big deal. Sharing these ideas, even if they're like, oh, that's a different idea, it triggers someone else's idea. And then it seems to like, we're just adapting this, and we're also getting on the same like frequency or waveform, like wave. What's the term? What's a better term you'd use there? Frequency or wave?
Wavelength.
Thank you. I don't know why I wasn't coming to it. I was like, there's a term here. But I feel like a lot of us are honing into that, you know? Okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, there it goes.
It's really cool. It's almost like watching a school of fish. Like you see a school of fish and they're all going one way, and then all of a sudden they switch and go the other way. I think the human consciousness can be like that. That like when a wave of fear comes through, it comes through a lot of us. And when a wave of like enlightenment comes through, it comes through a lot of us. And I mean, I'm definitely conjecturing, and that's a word I just made up.
That's totally a word. I believe it is.
You know what I mean? Conjecturing. Well, you get what I mean by it, so that
Yes.
it'll be okay. But I'm definitely like just throwing that out there. Like but that's my internal dialogue telling me this. Like, I feel like we're all just kind of going with the flow. And then when there's a shift, we all like fads, like FAD fads, like when they happen, all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, we all love, like millions of humans love this particular thing or this word or this genre, this idea. And that's like the school of fish just shifting gears. And I talk a lot about taking autonomy over, like being aware of that flow, that wavelength, but then also being aware of your own autonomy as a single individual unit, because that you are source, God expressing itself. You are an individual, like tiny little flame in this giant bonfire of life. And you just want to take back a little bit and go inside, which is meditation, which doesn't have to look one certain way. We just said that. But you just want to go inside for a few minutes. And if you have to use medicine, plant medicine, whether that's marijuana or ayahuasca, mushroom, psilocybin, whatever it's going to be, or just you going inside, whether you're in nature, eyes closed, and just going, okay, what's my truth? What do I really, really feel is real? And then I want you to constantly question it. Because you don't want to pull yourself out of real reality to create this false truth because that's the shadow side of what I'm talking about. I don't want anyone to go too far extreme, but I'm just saying, find the balance, go inside, get quiet. And when things are going in one way, one direction, get off the bandwagon and go inside, listen.
Yeah.
Because that's taking autonomy for your own, it's your sovereignty. It's your inner dialogue. And you actually, believe it or not, you have the answers inside. But I do think that like we get so dependent on screens and on the people on the screens telling us what to think, including me right now, like pointing my finger like this, like don't listen to me. Don't listen to yourself. So if you think I'm full of crap, like, oh my gosh, listen to that. But if you think I'm right, then listen to that. And if you think I'm kind of right, listen to that. You got to check things in here, and don't go to the extreme where you create a false reality, but just keep yourself balanced within what's actually happening on the outside world and what people say and do. And then check it in with yourself, yourself. And that's meditation, that check in where you spend quiet time. I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you, Big Willie, but I love my quiet time alone. It's my favorite.
I don't get that. I'm sure I would love it, but I haven't had it in a long time. We have a 5, a 3-year-old, and no, it's not a bad thing. It's just we're parents. So like, especially my wife can really relate to this. We have a 5, going to be 6-year-old, almost 4-year-old, and then almost 2-year-old. So
you have a really important job.
Yeah. We love, like, it's the most awesome responsibility I've ever taken on, but it definitely is a responsibility.
Yes.
And I would love to, and I've been talking to my wife about this for a while. I was telling her, and I don't know when we would find the time to do it, but I told her, I said, we should really like do just even a 15-minute podcast of some sort that talks about, and I'm sure some people have written on this, but the idea that parents can sometimes lose themselves a little bit. I mean, specifically moms, I feel.
Yes.
You get so wrapped up in being a mom that you can lose oneself.
Yes.
And it's a slippery slope. And it's something I think it should be more attention on. It 100% is.
When you give away a part of yourself in service, so your wife, for example, as a mother, she's giving a part of herself, her energy, in service to the child, because that's the future. That's your genetic future. And you guys have created these little children. 3 of them, you have 3 babies. So right? 3. So you both parents have the most important job in the world, hands down. I don't care what you say. Parents have the most important, and I'm not a parent, and I wish I was, but I think that fate was like, no, that's not for you. But being a parent is the most important job in the world, because what you're doing is you're shaping this little being, this little miracle, this consciousness that you created, into shaping the future. Like, they have to adapt to the world as it is. They have to learn to adapt, and then they have to learn to work with it, and then hopefully shape it into what we need to for generations to come of our species. And raising a child is not a light task. It's not a light task at all. It's a very difficult job. So I commend you for having 3 babies.
Oh, well, thank you. I suppose sometimes some people, I think, approach it with, I don't know. I think we all, first of all, there's no book out there, and I think anybody who's ever been a parent or any of that, even if that means you just took over stepping up and being someone's parent, you know that there's no book out there that actually gets you ready for it, because they're all such unique little individuals. It's amazing. Yeah. It's frustrating.
And they're
it's just amazing.
You made them. They're you.
I know. Yes. And Ben knows this. He's got just now almost a month-old baby, or maybe just over a month old. So he's a brand new daddy, and he's just enjoying it, having his little girl. And like I tell people, I used to not get people who said, you know, they're like, oh, I never want kids. And I couldn't relate to it. But then we had kids, and then once you realize, you're like, people definitely should know if they want to have kids. Like, it's an important, because like you said, it's a lifetime commitment, probably. You know what I mean? I'm viewing it as like,
it's huge.
You know, it's sometimes I think Christina does a great job at it, and I usually don't let it get to me. But every once in a while, if I do get some quiet time, it will hit me every once in a while. I'm like, oh my God, there's like 3 people that I'm like, you just put into context where I was like, they're the next generation, and things that I'm doing and saying affect that.
Yes.
It's,
in ways that you can't even imagine.
I know it's very intriguing, but they do have such beautiful imaginative minds, and they're so open to things. I am intrigued to see with, I guess, the difference in how we were raised, how we're raising them. uh, Josh hit on this earlier. He said, like some of the kids in school now that are openly talking about UFOs or aliens and stuff, and this idea of like consciousness and helping them recognize that if you put in the belief, or if you put in the work, you kind of manifest the reality you want. And do believe you have to put in work, but if you put in the work and you keep that in front of you, you can achieve amazing things. But really trying to help them achieve at an early age, and it's going to fluctuate, but who and what they are, like what are you really, what do you really want to do with this life? Because my parents were great, but that wasn't something that was really, we were, because of the religious aspect, you had a job, like, you know what I mean? Your job was already kind of assigned from day one. And there wasn't a lot of talk about like, yeah.
It's evolved. It is evolved.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like
100%.
how we were parented and how our parents were parented is completely different than how our generation parents. And I feel, and I don't know if you are on board with this, but you're an example to me of like how parenting is becoming more heart-centered and more compassionate than it was in previous generations, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, some have felt not for the better, and some have felt that there's give and take, and we should have balance in things. And right now, I do feel that we are in a generation where there's going to be two extremes coming out of this. I do feel like there's going to be,
for sure,
there's two extremes forming. I would say maybe even three that are very different from one another. And who knows how that's going to work out. I can't tell anybody. I don't want anybody to really tell me how to have to raise my kids. So I don't tell the people how to raise their kids unless they ever ask something. I'm like, oh, maybe you try this. But I'm not that person who's out there, because like, honestly, if they're alive at the end of the day and there's no broken bones and everybody ate dinner and like all that jazz is good, we were winning. That's a successful day. And some people are like, man, you got to be teaching them French and sign language and Spanish. And I'm like, we're just trying to get them to say normal words like properly. So not to say you couldn't do those things. They have amazing minds that can retain a ton of information, but it is kind of funny. The different parenting styles are always very unique. I'll say that. But yeah, I don't regret at all the parenthood.
And that's just a reflection of personality,
Mm-hmm.
It's just a reflection. Your parenting style is a reflection of your personalities. You guys are just more relaxed and more like, this is what they need to learn. They don't need these crazy lessons in French or whatever and learn 10 different languages. They need to learn how to be a decent human being and pay their bills, and have a healthy relationship with their significant other or whatever it is.
Huge
priorities are different. Priorities are different, and the way people raise their kids is just a reflection of where they're at, so
Spooky, we love you here so much, but you make me laugh every single time you're in the chat. I love it. You know what? Here's one for you guys tonight. That's kind of sus. Whatever you're sipping on tonight, when I mention sus, you may take a sip, because that's a little sus, but I appreciate it, Spooky. I appreciate it.
I've gone 30 minutes over my time, so do you want me to take questions or anything, or?
No, I was just going to ask you if there's anything you want to get out. I had already mentioned them to bring forth questions. I hadn't seen anything pop up, but I was just going to bring that up to you. I was like, I'm sorry, we're 30 minutes over at least of the time you said you could do. So if there's anything you would like. Oh, sorry.
I've said, I know, you don't be sorry. I was looking at the chat box real quick. I've said everything I've wanted to say. And if people have specific questions, I want people to know, if you are curious about hypnosis, you want to choose a hypnotherapist that's the right person for you. And that might not be me, but it might be me. The only way to, you can just listen to me talk and you might already know right now. If you are interested in having a session, or at least talking about having a session, I do offer 20-minute free consultations, and you can book those on my website. So I just want people to know that, if you're curious, and you want to know more, but if you just want to watch stuff, I have my sessions on YouTube. I have a lot of my sessions on YouTube, and they can go there. And then on Instagram, I post a lot of philosophical stuff with pictures from the area that I live in. So I just wanted people to know, that's what I'm offering online, and how to reach out if they need more information after tonight.
Yeah. And for those that are watching currently in the chat, like I said, I put her links in there a couple times so you guys can click on those. They're also in the show notes. So if you're watching this video at a later date, scroll down. They're going to be right there. And if you're listening to this in podcast format, because we have a ton of people who listen podcasts strictly, they don't even come on YouTube, and I get it. We'll make sure that's in the show notes as well. So you'll be able to go down there and click on it. And I believe, like I said, we got your YouTube linked. But for sure, got your website at the top. And I believe you also gave me your Instagram if anybody wanted to follow you over
right
there. So
perfect. Hypnosis. Spooky, you just asked if I'm going to be on Lynn's show. I would ask Lynn specifically if I were you, Spooky, if you can. I know I'm going to be a regular. She had said I would be a regular guest monthly. I'm not sure, like, if that's the experiencer group, though.
That could be. I know that's a big thing she's got coming forward. So that's going to be a good time. And like I said, I really appreciate you hanging over your time here, because I know we had so much we could have covered. We could have gone into some of your experiences. There's a lot to do there. So people have to check you out. As I've always said, we were big supporters of Spaced Out Radio, SOR, with Dave Scott and Lynn Wallington. Matter of fact, Lynn will be going on in about an hour and 19 minutes here. I don't know who she's got tonight.
Ask her, guys. Ask her.
Yeah, so we can definitely be in the chat and ask her tonight, and maybe I'll just message her when I get off here and be like, hey, what's up? What is this going down?
Yeah, ask her about that. Melissa, I'm looking forward to consulting with you.
All the links are broken.
How are the links broken? What do you mean, bub? So they shouldn't be.
I was going to say, I checked, I could have swore.
RootswingsHypnosis.com is good. YouTube.com/ and the way it's showing up is like it's not totally there. Instagram
it does look like it's a little off.
Roots_wings_hypnosis is my Instagram. If you
it might have cut them off.
Okay, so go to my website, guys, and then the icons in the top right hand corner will be there for YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. It's all there. So just go to rootswingshypnosis.com.
And I'll make sure if you're listening in podcast format right now that we fix that. So the link should be good. But if nothing else, guys, go check out our website. Like she said, it's all going to be right there, and you can read all about it. You can read all those words I couldn't say earlier, and you can do all of that. All right. Well, Karlene, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out tonight. And guys, like I said, I'm going to be on here for a little bit longer. If anybody wants to hop on, you just want to talk for a little bit, we always open up the door and say, hey, we got any hitchhikers want us to come in and talk about something? Feel free to hop on. But yeah, thank you so much, Karlene. And then, like I said, hopefully wait to see a little more of you with Lynn. I don't know if it'll be directly through SOR or how that's going to work out. But
Lynn's show. Yes, I'll see you guys on Lynn's show. I'll be in the chat box.
All right. Well, you have a good night, and thank you once again for coming on, okay? Peace, love, taco grease.
Bye, guys.
Hashtags.
This is so fun. Bye.
Oh, for sure. Have a good one. Oh, man, guys. There was so much more we could have got into. So much. She had so many of her own experiences, not to mention those experiences of those that she's helped along the way. There's a lot there. So I'll make sure, hopefully, if she's still watching or pops up, I'll leave that up there for you, brother. Let's see what's Josh Casey saying here. Big Willie, your beard is throwing the signal off. Too much macho or macho? It's not even that big. I took off, I just cut it the other night. I took off quite a bit. Look at it. I'm going to slide over to the side. I took off like a couple inches. Look at it. See? It's shorter. See? I cleaned it all up. Look at that. Yeah, for anybody who wants to hop on here, like I said, feel free. No pressure. You can come on with or without a camera. But man, how about that? I'm fascinated. I really am fascinated with the past life regression and progression. I'd never even heard of that. And I could see how that one could get conflated perhaps, or maybe even mistaken with the, I believe Sunsaber brought this up earlier, the idea of like remote viewing, but maybe not. Who knows? I mean, for me, I think it's, it's quite, you know what, guys? I just realized I'm going to need to put the link in the chat if anybody does want to hop in here, because I just realized. I'm like, hey, guys, you want to hop in here? And I haven't even put the link out there for you guys. All right, hang on a second here. Let me get the link up here. There we go. Almost have that link in there. I'll pop it in a couple times. That way, if it disappears, you guys can hop back on there again. I don't know why I forgot about that. Thurston, what's happening? Heck yeah. Why? Cool woman. Yeah, she was. She was a great lady. I noticed we lost one of our listeners after she called him out. She called him out on it. I feel bad. That she had to do that. But it still made me laugh a little bit. Guys, I apologize tonight too. I got going a couple times with her and I did lose track of you guys over here in the chat. So if you had asked a question earlier, that you wanted either myself to answer or her, and I missed it, I do apologize. I normally do a little bit better job of keeping up with it, but I was kind of jumping between the two. I've got to actually update the information we have going on over here with Chrome versus the browser that I'm using, because the browser I'm using doesn't allow me to quite utilize StreamYard to its full capacity. So, but yeah, T-Waz, Melissa, Thurston, Josh Casey. Let's see who else we got in here. Sunsaver, Y, Spooky Morales, Zero Cool. I know Spaghetti Lee, I know you're gone, brother, but you were in here for a little while. All guys, thank you so much for hanging out in here and just conversating. Wait, Tammy, you as well. Justin, AD, Menard, thank you so much. Agreed. I'm just going back here. I'm just reading some of the old comments that I missed. He says, who doesn't melt when a very young baby looks intensely at you? 100%. I remember one of the most fascinating things for me, even still to this day, but especially, I mean, they can use their words more now, but when they were that baby, right, in that first couple of months, and they would just lock eyes with you, you know, maybe you're feeding them or whatever's going on, and they would just stare. I was always like, I would give anything to just get in that head for a little bit, just to, what's going on, right? Maybe there's not even words yet. It's just thoughts that are feelings. Always fascinated me. I always was like, what could be in there? And you could feel so much love from something that's not expressing the words that say, I love you. And sometimes contextually, they lose a lot of meaning. We just freely throw that term out there a lot sometimes. And I feel like that's something we should always concentrate on. All right. Hey, Grandmaster, I tell you what, I seen you, brother, partying it up hard. You guys want to talk about a guy who parties hard? Real hard. He was partying hard on SOR. There's a link right there if you want to get on, and you can just party in the background. I'll throw you up. Or you can talk to me if you would like a little bit. Oh, you're at, wait. You're at you're on, what is a Poopy Duke Patrol? Guys, does anybody in the chat know what a Poopy Duke Patrol is? He said, I'm on Poop-y Duke Patrol. Am I reading it wrong? Am I reading that wrong, guys? I don't know. Champ Campbell, I know you were on here before, brother. Like I said, that link's in there if anybody wants to hop on. There's no pressure. Oh, we got one. Hey, look at this. Hang on one second. Let's see. Here we go. You all set, brother, before I bring you in? You all good? Good? All right. So what's happening, guys? We got a hitchhiker here. We got Josh Casey in the house. What's up, brother? Or Joshua. Sorry about that. Josh or Jason.
Man, was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Dude, when I came across her with Lynn, it was a couple months, maybe 4 months back or so, was her last episode with Lynn. And I was like, this lady's like, this is pretty awesome, right? And she got to, anybody should go check out that interview with her, because they got to get a lot more detail as far as like some of her personal encounters. I think she's actually been on Lynn twice. I haven't listened to the very first time she was on, but yeah, man, just a lot of knowledge that just resonates with me pretty deeply. And what's amazing, what I learned tonight a little more, is I didn't realize a lot of this just happens to be more as of late. It's not necessarily information that's like always been there with her. Maybe it has, but she's just now really putting it out there, and seems the universe is really responding to her. So, you know.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are waking up. I was stoked that she brought up Dolores Cannon, because I don't hear hardly anybody talk about her. My investigator got me on her. She's awesome. I love Dolores.
Yeah, Dolores is great. I would like to do a lot more, especially since the consciousness wave that's coming, man. It's like a tidal wave anymore. It's like a tsunami at this point. It's not a storm. And I do want to read up on some of that history, because one of the great things that I've noticed is and I respect, there's a couple people out there doing some great work. I think Ben and Joe are doing great work. I think Christina Gomez is doing good work. And there's some people, I think Dave Scott is doing great work as far as the community that's kind of in between those that have come, the greats that are maybe some of you even passed on. And then there's a younger group of people that are experiencing things, but there's the history, there's this lineage that's almost lost, and trying to keep that intact. You know, there's been a stretch, I feel that in the middle, a lot got lost. And so the most exciting thing for me is to go back and find these old stories and this lineage, and find out that they were hitting on some of the stuff that we're just now kind of all like really accepting, I guess. And it wasn't like a lot of them, and they were definitely ostracized for bringing it up. But for me, it is pretty exciting to see it all coming about.
Yeah, I think we're all like pieces to the puzzle. You got to give yourself credit, man. You're part of it too.
I don't know about all that. Like I said,
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just here riding that. I'm just riding the wave like the tsunami. I mean, I can't surf to save my life or skateboard, I'm sure, but I'm surfing. I'm surfing on these waves. I'm
I
just
think that,
relaxing and chilling.
yeah, definitely. I think a lot more people are getting more like whenever my nephew just told me that him and his friends were at the lunch table talking about UFOs. He's like 8 years old. And that blew my mind because, like a few years ago, you would have never heard, especially an 8 year old, say something about that. I didn't even bring it up. This is part of my family that doesn't even know what I'm experiencing yet.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see the shift happening. I wanted to say something else. You guys were talking about God just being kind of like, just the spirit that runs through everything, just like life, the universe itself, which I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm more spiritual. I don't put labels on things, but it does say like in the Bible, I am that I am. I always took that like I am everything. But it made me think. I wanted to say something. Me and Chad Smith were just talking about this the other day. I saw something where they did this experiment and they had a leaf. I don't know if I told you about this. There's a caterpillar eating this leaf, and this leaf it puts off like a pheromone, kind of like a bug repellent. Where they did an experiment where they recorded the frequencies from this caterpillar that a human can't even hear, with their own senses. They play this frequency to this leaf, and there's no caterpillar around at all, and the leaf still produces that pheromone. So I mean,
Really?
yeah, to me, I thought that was incredible. Like people talk about things being conscious. It's not conscious the way that we are, but still, it seems like some form of conscious.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty interesting though. So like with it I mean, with it releasing that pheromone, right? Like I mean, like you're saying, there's not even a bug there. It's just that idea of it's almost like well, it can't compare it to this. This is downgrading compared to what you said. So we'll just leave it what you said. But it's the idea of like the old school test with the dog where they'd ring the bell and it would salivate for the food eventually that wasn't ever even there just based off the bell. But with the frequency thing, and this is where with the frequency stuff, it's so it's not an area of expertise for me, so it fascinates me. You know what I mean? I love
Yeah.
it, but I usually never want to give too much of an opinion on it because I just don't know. You know what I mean? I just know
Yeah.
that it seems to be everything along with consciousness. That's all I can
Even like
say.
a rock, yeah, even the rock has a frequency. That's to me that's incredible, and that's why I think because after my near death experience, I know I told you I got really into quantum physics off and on for like the past 10 years. I think that's what really helped me be able to, I guess, be open and accept all this weird stuff that's been happening to me here lately. Um, I mean, whenever you look at like quantum physics, it's weird. Like there's things that
Hmm.
shouldn't make sense. Things that seem almost like magic. The electron clouds and electrons being in multiple places at the same time and quantum entanglement, all that stuff. It seems like magic. So I think
Yeah.
about being more advanced than us by like 1,000 or million years. They it would technology we have right now would seem like complete magic to somebody 100 years ago.
100%. 100%. I mean, I would go as far as to say, honestly, even what we're using now to the 80s could almost be quantified as being magic. I mean, if you go back and look what was going on and what was at least available to the general public, I would say that we're man, we're kind of in the future right now. I mean, literally we are, but like we're really in the future compared to what was going on, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I don't even know how I got on that topic, but have you seen the thing where I do that sometimes. My ADD kicks in. I'll just
I
branch
hear
off.
you, brother.
Where they had the guy flying the plane with a fucking helmet. I mean, that's like straight
Mm.
up type stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
I'm like these brain waves are flying a plane. That's stuff. 10 years ago would seem like complete sci-fi fantasy. But I don't want to say I had no idea you had 3 kids, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 It's definitely, like I said, I always I make sure I make it clear to people it's the most awesome responsibility I've ever had, and it's terrifying, but in a really good way. I thoroughly enjoy being a father. It was one of those things that it sounds kind of silly to say. I never knew what else I was going to be in life. I mean, I had a couple ideas, but being a father was something that I always knew. Like I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to be a dad, and it's kind of I don't know if that's something that just because of like she brought up, we think that we thought and formulated our own ideas, but your parents play such a crucial part in formulating your perception of the world, and depending on what kind of music or movies or anything that they allow in your life at a young age, it really just sets you up for that path, you know. But it's something that we kind of forget about. You know, there's certain things we just accepted, and if we don't think about it until we're older, you know. Chris, what's?
Sorry.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say, Chris, what's up? Yeah, you did miss her, brother. She only had about an hour, but she gave us about an hour and a half. So I don't think I laughed too much this time. We'll see what happens. You can listen back to it. Dude, you should, if you could, reach out to her, see if she can come on the show with you over there with the Conspire Theory podcast. She's got a lot. She's got a lot to talk about. I'm sorry though. What were you saying there, Josh? I interrupted you.
Honestly, I totally lost my train of thought. I was kids. I don't have any kids of my own, but
we were talking about kids.
Before I did have 2 stepkids with my ex-wife for 4 years. Still think about them all the time. You know, their dad was completely out of the picture, so I pretty much raised them as my own for 4 years. So I mean, I don't have flesh and blood kids, but you know, I've done the whole parenting thing, and I know having multiple kids is not easy. I had 2, so I can't imagine having 3. But it's humbling though. Like you said, it makes you look at everything different. Everything you do. I remember one day my stepson was out on the trampoline. I told him, you know, Chase, it's time to come inside, and he just goes, "Damn it, Josh!" And I'm like, "Oh, well," like I guess that rubbed off, you know, like sponges. Really.
Oh yeah, you get to see. No matter, well, for sure, genetics play a role too. I mean, it does just naturally, but even without genetically being connected to somebody, there's a lot of who and what you are they just absorb it, man. They just absorb your energy, your thought process, and you definitely see it coming back out of them sometimes. And that can be a great thing, and it can also be a little bit of a reality check sometimes. But yeah, so man, I guess if you're okay to talk about it, I know you already talked. Obviously, guys, too, everybody should go check out the Chad Smith podcast. You've got that set up. You've also got the Paranormal Chop Shop with Sonny, and him and Sonny are now kind of running a co-thing there. Which, guys, if you haven't checked this out, Jim Goodall here. He was in the Paranormal Chop Shop earlier, guys. He drove out. He was, oh hey, what's up? Speaking of Sonny, like literally just his ears must have been ringing. Was just hanging out literally at the garage with Sonny. So kind of jelly on that one. I got to say hi to him in the beginning, and that was about it. But you guys should go check that out too.
Oh yeah, I'll listen. I dozed off. Thank you, Sonny, for inviting me on there to ask a question. I'm gonna beat myself up for falling asleep on that forever. But I got to catch most of it. It's awesome. I want to know how Sonny made that connection. Like, I thought he told me something about it. I thought he was just going to have him on there. I think he's going to be in the garage chilling with him. That's awesome. Yeah.
No, he's got the connections, right? Sonny's a G. Sonny knows what's up. He's got connections out there. But yeah, I think it'll be a great time. I told Jim, I said, hey, one day I'm going to meet you in person at a conference. If we can ever get us all together, it's going to happen. Just like yourself. Like, there's so many of us that, man, there's so many people that I talk with. It seems like at least weekly, if not every day or every other day, that I've never met. Like, majority of the people I keep up with anymore are people that I've never met. I'm telling you. Oh, Sonny, yeah, here, what's up? Hey, Lynn, what's happening? We just had, she just got off not that long ago, but you know what? You could answer a question. Because we were all curious. She was talking about working with you soon here, and we didn't know all the dates or information. So maybe if you want to put it in the chat, because a lot of people were asking, to let us know. Is she going to be part of the new support group? Is that what she's maybe coming over to help you out? Unless we're talking about stuff we shouldn't be talking about. I don't know. But hey, it was put out there, so I'm just restating what's been already stated, I guess.
I want to tell Lynn real quick, thank you for everything that you're doing. You're awesome. I've seen her a couple of times on Spaced Out Radio.
She is. Yep. No, I found out too when I went on there with her. It's like the whole reason that, oh man, we have somebody else backstage. We'll make sure they're good before we bring them in or anything. 1 second here. Ben says, with fam all day, what's good? Hey, Ben, what's shaking? Yeah, no worries, brother. I just sent that. I always send invites out after a guest is done. Anybody that might want to come on, I put it in the chat. I also throw it out, a messenger to a couple people. So Yeah, Lynn. I'll send you a link in just a second here. So let me send this over to Lynn, and backstage we have Melissa Nicole, who's been hanging out in the chat lately, and I gotta see. I know she knows quite a few other people too.
I think I've been in the chat one time.
Well, I'm trying to remember, and I guess we could just ask her once I finish sending this. I'll ask her in person. I think Gemma Jade, if that's kind of the connection, and some of them over there. Which I said the name Gemma Jade, and I started typing it up instead of Lynn. Hang on here. I believe that's how she kind of found us, or we were hanging out over there, and that's how we kind of got connected. But either way, we appreciate your support. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and then also you guys sharing. Honestly, I know it doesn't. Maybe you might not think it's much, but I really do appreciate when you guys share your story. So let's go ahead. I've got too many tabs open. I'm going to the wrong thing. Here we go. I'm going to bring her on in. What's happening, Melissa? How's your night going?
Hi. Can you hear me?
I can. We can hear you well, too. This is a good thing. Some people come on and we never know what's going to happen, you know?
Hi, Melissa. I see you in the chat all the time.
Hey, how are you?
Great.
Is Champ Campbell saying that Melissa is
What are
the
we talking
farting
about?
phantom? I don't know if that's what he's saying or not, but are you being accused of being, are you the one that called me? The fart? The
Thank God, word.
phantom farting? That's still one of my favorite memories. I had a great time with that. That was a fun night. It was a great time. So yeah, Melissa, I say, by the way, if you, and I should have done this for you too, Joshua, let me start with you really quick. Do you have anywhere people can follow you? You feel free to mention that right now. We got some people in here, and then I'll do the same for you too, Melissa, in a second.
I mean, right now, Chad's been having me on his podcast a lot here lately. Actually, tomorrow we might have I told a story about a remote viewer that I met that pretty much proved to me that remote viewing is real. When I was just getting into all this, she might be on there with us tomorrow with me and Chad. I'm waiting to hear back from him, but if not, I'm probably just going to end up getting Sonny and have her on there with him if he's cool with it. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking about maybe starting a podcast sometime here soon. I'm still just going through a lot. I know you know I'm experiencing quite now, but if I don't anytime soon, I'll be on there with Chad pretty often as much as I can.
Very nice. And then for yourself, Melissa, by the way, Chris Holmes says Melissa can't be the farting phantom. Girls don't fart, do they?
So don't
hey.
do that.
And is there a place anybody can follow you, YouTube channel or anything like that that you can let us know about?
No, I'm freelance right now. I'm in the middle of figuring out what I'm gonna do. I was on with Steve on his 13 past midnight, but I kind of got replaced.
Oh man. Well, hey, we've all had that happen in our life. I've been replaced a couple times along the way.
Nobody
It
can
always
replace
sucks.
you.
Well, it can, trust me. We're not. Here's the unique part. We're not replaceable as an individual that is us, right? Positions come and go, and sometimes it's rough, but then like better things come along, even if it takes a little bit. I always feel like it's always gotten better. I'll say that. Even if it sucked at the time, it always sucks a little bit.
Maybe not. Come here. What do you want? Why are you talking? Come here. No, come over here and say hello. Come
Camp
on.
Billy says being fired is funny. Yeah, you know what? Fingers crossed. I've never been fired, and I've only ever quit one job, one time. That was it, and that was because I had 3 jobs at the time, and I didn't need that 3rd job. So I was like, I'm done. I don't need this in my life. So
They're working multiple jobs. Yeah, struggle is just nature's way of strengthening.
heck yeah. All right, well, real quick, guys. Melissa, I'm going to get you to stay by for a real second. I'm going to pop in Lynn Wallington here. She's coming to say hi and hang out with us.
Hey.
Hey, Lynn.
Hey.
Let me switch this around. We'll put you guys up here. We'll put me down in the corner. So, Lynn,
How's Christmas
thank you
going
very
on
much.
already?
Surprise! Hey.
I
Well,
know, right?
I was trying to pop in to see if Karlene was still on here, but we just missed her. We just got done with the meeting, so I came in and just.
Wait, did I miss a meeting?
Cool. What's that? No,
I
you
didn't miss a meeting.
Yeah,
Okay, I was like, wait a minute. Did I miss a meeting too?
Where
Oh,
were
crap.
you, Willie? No,
Sorry.
You're totally fine. No, you're totally fine. So, Karlene, yeah, I'm going to have her coming on probably once every other month or so. We got to talk about it. Hi, Spooky. So yeah, it's probably once every other month. We have to. Hi, everybody. We have to kind of figure it out. I haven't talked with her yet, so we'll see. But the booking team's been so awesome. Our schedules are filling up like crazy. So I think it probably won't start until, well, I might be able to get her in December. If not, we'll start it in January.
Okay.
But she's awesome. What'd you think? Did you guys like her?
She's awesome.
Yeah. She's
Yeah.
great.
We have a lot more we could have gone into for sure.
She's amazing. She's really cool. Did she tell you about her own UFO sighting that she had after she was on a show?
No, we didn't get to go into it. We really focused on the idea of early Karlene, right? Some of her childhood stuff, and then what led her to the whole idea of consciousness, regression, past life regression, and then progression. Those are kind of the three big areas we really focused on. So, Sunny, I'm looking through here. I think I already sent you a link, but in case I didn't, I'll put it in the chat as well. But I thought I sent you one already, so I'll send another one for you. But yeah, a lot of people were asking about that, and I was like, "Oh, sweet!" I was like, because I didn't know. Because feel free to tell everybody also, first of all, who do you have on tonight, and then secondly, the group that you got coming out here in November, right, the 21st.
The group that I have.
Wait, not the group, the support group. Let me rephrase that.
Yeah. Oh, right, that, yeah.
That the thing that you made and set up.
That I wanted to do, yeah. Yes. So tonight I have on Andrew Knock. I'm actually really psyched to talk to. He's a producer. He helped produce the Demi Lovato, the new show, but he's also done like UFO Witness and a bunch of different paranormal shows. So he kind of comes at things from the perspective of, kind of a skeptic, but he's getting to watch all of this stuff on the sidelines and observe it all. So I think it'll be a lot of fun talking with him. He'll be interesting. So he's only going to be on for, he can only do an hour, and then I'm going to have the Square Table panel back on, well, at least some of them. They couldn't all come on, so then we can all chat. So that'll be fun. And yeah, the group, yes, thank you, Willie, for bringing that up. So we're going to do the new experiencer support group. Spaced Out Support. It's going to start a week from tomorrow. So the 21st. That'll be 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll put out info about it. So yeah.
Demi Lovato, sus. Everybody gets a drink for that. Very nice, Campbell.
Everyone's got an opinion. All right. Yeah. You know what? Right? Let her explore it. That's what I say. Let her explore it, guys.
That is true.
Out there.
Yeah, she's just starting to learn about it also.
Hey, Melissa, can I get you to do me just one little favor? Can you can you just mute yours until you want to talk? I think it might be. I'm going to check real quick. Hang on one second. I'm going to see.
Is it me?
I think it might be her. All right. No worries. That's okay. Whenever you want to talk, you have a mute button on and off there. Just click that back on whenever you want to talk.
My son decided it was a great time to take a shower. So, that's all that background noise.
That's okay. That's okay. Also, really quick, too, guys, I have another guest in the back. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to welcome them just really quick. But really quick, Lynn, anything else you want to say before I bring these guys on in case you got to run or anything?
No. That's cool. Yeah, I'm going to take off so I can get ready for the show. But I just
do you want to say hi to Jim really quick or no?
Sure.
Okay, well, here we go. We got Sonny and Jim Goodall here. What's happening, gentlemen?
Another adventure. I was just at the Little Alien last weekend with a couple of guys I met at Disclosure Con up in Pine Top Sholo area a couple months ago. And the security post, Storm Area 51, has gone from benign on the east side in Tipico Valley to really intense. We got followed everywhere. And there's all sorts of warning signs. But there's still places where you can go and observe what leaves, what's flying out there. And I've been out there on 80 different occasions over the last 40 years. So I'm real familiar with the area. It's changed a lot. I mean, I was there for the Storm Area 51. I was there with George Knapp. We've been friends forever. And there were actually more security people than there were people who were going to storm Area 51. Mm-hmm. But someone said, how can you stop 1 million people? I said, well, you shoot the first guy. The rest will turn around and bail. So the two guys I was with, they were thrilled. They had never been to Rachel. We spent 3 wonderful nights at the spa in Rachel, a la the Little Alien. And I hadn't seen Pat Travis since the Storm Area 51 thing. And I've been going to the Little Alien since 1987, long before it was a Little Alien. And I met Joe and Pat when they first moved here. So it's always fun to see to see those people. And but the security in and around Area 51 has increased dramatically over the years. So, but we had a fun time, and the guys I went out there with, Dale, and then Michael. That the first time they'd been out in that part of the world, and we had a ball. We didn't say anything. We saw a lot of signs. I posted them on Facebook, excuse me. And, that's how I keep. Yeah, my wife used to say, "Well, why do you keep Facebook?" And I said, "Because my UFO crazy friends, I usually stay in contact with them via Facebook, and I spent 4 years in Hawaii as a museum curator in Pearl Harbor. And I have a lot of Hawaii friends. And anyway, and they're scattered all over the planet now. And the only way I keep track of them is with Facebook. I've been banned more than I have been on. But that's life. I have what a lot of people don't have. I have an opinion. And I read scientific journals and I do a lot of investigative work. So,
Jim, did you wear the ghillie suit this time around or what, dude?
I'm real hard of hearing, and that was a little bit mumbled.
Did you wear the ghillie suit this time when you went into Area 51?
No, I just oh, it's Ben.
What's up, dude?
I was looking around. I was looking for that hairy thing you call your partner. I'm just babysitting tonight. You can't get away. And oh, by the way, you have a new one too, don't you?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations. Your life has just gone to hell. It'll never be the same.
Oh, dude, it's amazing.
I have a daughter, and I had a stepdaughter. I got her. She was 15 years old. And that would be like being abducted by aliens and having to live with the anal probe the rest of your life. It's just, I love my stepdaughter even to this day. And even though her mom and I are no longer buddies.
I think 15 is that age where you're like, any boy or girl, you're like, maybe we'll hang out in 5 years.
What you do, you wear a T-shirt saying, "I have no problems going back to prison," while you're cleaning your Smith & Wesson 500 or classic 1911 with all sorts of hollow points and maybe other, and you just remind her date and say, "You're a nice young man, but you know what? Whatever you do to my daughter, myself, my dogs, and a few of my buddies are going to do to you. So if you treat my daughter with kindness and respect and bring her back in the same condition she left in, we'll be friends."
I think your German Shepherds, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should adopt like you did. I mean, those are some pretty intimidating dogs too. So maybe I'll get some German Shepherds too.
I for those who don't know, my wife and I had rescued a feral German Shepherd pup. She was about 18 months old when we got her. She doesn't know her name even a year later. She doesn't know how to fetch. She knows what treatsies are. She's terrified of cars. And but she's the most loving creature I've ever had. I've had some incredibly beautiful purebred German Shepherds. And I miss them terribly. I lost them in a divorce. But that's neither here nor there. But my big male was 130 pounds. And he knew he was born and raised to protect. But he was a big teddy bear most of the time. So, but I've had, I came out here to the hitherlands of the Central Valley of California. I'm on my way up to the Bay Area. My only girl cousin, and she was like my sister my entire life. She passed away this week. And
sorry to hear that.
It was a sad affair, but I was coming up here. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take me. I drive fast, but I had to go through to get here. And or you've seen my car, haven't you, Ben? Yeah.
Oh, dude, you could probably go up to 200 in that one on a good day, right?
185 off the showroom floor. So.
Well, did Sonny give you for run for your money in one of his rides or what, dude?
No, it's kind of foggy and damp, and 430 horsepower on 13-inch wide tires. They don't like damp ground, especially wet ground, but damp is just as bad.
He still got it to stick.
That's awesome.
That car's fast.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Look, I mean, I just want to say, look at the awesome crew we have tonight, you guys. I mean, we've got Josh Casey, Lynn Wallington, Melissa Nicole, and Chris Holm, Big Willie, Sonny, Jim Goodall. This is awesome. I just had to hop on and say what's up to y'all. I've been hanging out with family all day, so we putting the baby down and just wanted to pop up and say what's up for a little bit.
it was fun. I
just want to say thank you for your service, and it's an honor to be on here with you. When Sonny said Jim Goodall, I had to make sure it was the same Goodall I had in my head.
I'm 27 years of total service, 5 active, 10-year break, and then 21 years with the military. Our guard is the wing historian, both the wing level and state staff. And I scrounged a Blackbird for our museum, and I've always been the unit Sergeant Bilko. General Broman came up to me one day and he says, "I got a question. I don't want to know how you're going to do it, but can you do such and such?" I said, "Sure." And next day I had the answer for him. I had a retired Air Force 2-star general, SR-71 pilot. I won't give his name, but he's still alive. He called me about 2 weeks ago. And he said, "Jim, I'm trying to find some historical information for a friend of his, and who I also knew, a skunkworks guy. And I've exhausted my sources. Can you help me?" I said, "All I can do is ask the right people." And about 4 hours later, I had a PDF file, probably about 10 or 15 pages, documenting this guy's life at the skunkworks and his flight record and everything else. And he said, "How in the hell did you get that?" I said, "You got to know the right people." And I've been doing this forever. I did this before the internet was even thought of, as far as in the commercial area. And in 1968, now most of your parents weren't born then, but in 1968, I was out of the Air Force. I asked the Air Force, and I was willing to pay. I asked Lockheed, Department of Defense, CIA, and Air Force, I want a half a dozen color 8x10s of the Blackbird in the sky, flying. Their official policy was not to cooperate. Because they didn't cooperate, I started digging. Now, if they had given me everything I wanted, I would have never met Bob Lazar. I would never met John Lear. I would have never met the garage UFO guys. Yeah, they're sort of the Wayne's World of the UFO community. And I just met them in San Francisco. I immediately liked them. They were just, they were drinking their red wine and just having a wonderful time out in the lobby up there.
I was gonna say, I love that that's how everybody met them. That's how Dave Scott met him. He's like, the biggest bottle of wine I ever seen in my life is how I met Joe and Ben. I'm like, it seems to be a running trend.
Yeah. So I enjoy everybody here, but I'm where I'm at. I'm 76 years old. I drive a 185 mile an hour Corvette. Before that, I drove a Harley. But I laid that down coming back from Sturgis at 70 miles an hour, and I walked away from it unscathed. A lot of damage to the bike, but very little to me. And I lost my edge. So I told the wife, I said, if I can find a way to buy a Corvette, I'll sell my Harley. But instead, I gave it to my best friend. He doesn't have a pot to pee in. He lives in Section 8 housing. He wanted to buy it. I said, "You can't afford it." And it got really sad. And I said, "But I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to lease it to you for $1."
Wow.
So I still own it. I still pay the insurance on it. But the man would give me his life if I needed it. And he's been my friend since September 9th, 1962. And I've never forgotten that. So,
awesome.
Heck
yeah.
So I was going to actually ask Melissa, how did you come into the community, like finding this group of people? I mean, obviously Jim's mentioned how he came about, and we also heard how Lynn mentioned a little bit for yourself, because you're relatively new to, at least to the garage for us. How did you come across the garage? How did that even happen?
I have Someone's going to say something? Oh, because I've been digging up stuff on black programs. The U-2, I was the first guy to photograph the F-117. I wrote the first book with Bill Sweetman on the F-117. I'm an expert on the Blackbird. They let me fly the B-2 simulator at Whiteman in 2015. I've been to 400 feet deep in a ballistic missile submarine. I've been up in the sail of the same submarine as we're going through the Straits of Juan de Fuca with 100 hydrogen bombs on board, real ones. They go out, do angles and dangles, and bring back non-essential personnel contractors. And I do this because I love it. It's fun. I'm most comfortable with this crowd. When I was at Disclosure Con the end of August, no, whatever it was, a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago.
Yeah.
A couple of the guys I met there, he says, this afterwards, we're all just sort of talking. He said, I feel right at home with these people. There's some real weird ducks, but they're everywhere. And I mean, how could you love a Joe of Ben and Joe? He's adorable. He has that twinkle in his eye. Then he has a smiley stray guy. It would almost be like a Laurel and Hardy, but one's a hippie deadhead, and one's a straight man. So I feel comfortable. I mean, I met Dave Scott. We immediately hit it off. And the only reason I had anything to do with the UFO community, Michael Schratt has been a friend of mine forever.
Yeah.
I didn't meet him until about 5 or 6, no, maybe longer, but about 7 or 8 years ago. I met him for the first time face to face, but he said, no, we met one other time 10 years earlier. But he's a very, very dear friend of mine. And he just, it's the people that are well, let me step back. I lose track a lot, smoke weed, the mind goes. No, I'm sweet and pure. I don't drink. I don't smoke cigarettes. But
That's awesome.
It's made from it's healthy. That's what I think. That's all.
Yeah.
Cool.
But my mind wanders an awful lot, and it always has, because there's so much stuff in there, and it only takes me a second to get off track.
Nice.
But go back to March of 19. Michael Schratt said that, "Hey Jim, I'm gonna come into Phoenix on this Saturday for the International MUFON thing, whatever it was."
Sorry,
and I said, well, depending on what I'm doing, I mean, I'm retired, but so depending on what I'm doing, I make them up. It's 90 miles from my house to downtown Phoenix. And I know George Knapp was going to be there, and I've been friends with George for 40 years. God, I'm old. And I've had some dealings with Jeremy Corbell, but I wanted to see Michael. So I came up there, and everybody was in the conference. I went in the vendor's room. First person I walk into is Doc Skinner. And we start talking, and I introduce myself, and his mouth drops. He says, well, I didn't see your name on the program. I said, why would my name be on the program? I'm just a guy who's been around for a long time.
Right.
And he just, and then pretty soon everybody started coming in. And he said, well, you got to meet Richard Dolan. So I didn't know who Richard was. I didn't know who any of the UFO guys were, the people were.
Yeah.
Chin, by the way. And I had, he said, go make sure that Richard Dolan knows I'm here. Okay. So he had a whole group of people around his table. So I sort of reached through, and you have my Blackbird card, Ben, if I remember right.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very distinctive business card. Oh, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, really quick, Jim, just really quick. Just one second. I'm gonna bring in we have one more guest backstage. I'm gonna bring him in. This is the man, the myth himself, Chad Smith.
Is it Chad Smith?
Oh, oh.
What the Sam hell?
Yeah.
Hey, isn't it time for breakfast at the country kitchen there, old man, or what?
Man, Chad Smith is looking rough.
Sasquatch,
But he didn't get his coffee.
I'm about to go. Here's my buddy Paul. Look at that
Hey,
mustache.
watch
Look
out.
at that mustache.
That's a power stash right there.
dude.
That is a lip blade, boys. That is a lip blade.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're. I
Lip
don't know if
blade.
you can see this or not. But it is snowing like a mofo here right now, and we are literally. You caught us right when we were about to head into the bush, and this is the last place before I lose signal.
Heck yeah.
Are you guys going like are you visiting the site tonight?
We are going to a different site tonight.
Nice.
We are going. The beautiful part about the snow is going to open up a lot for tracks and footprints.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome. Yes.
What a
Dave
big
Scott
foot-
in the field.
Yeah. Feels
Where's
like I'm
Big
watching
Button?
a Blair Witch project right now.
Will you
I
be
don't know if
careful?
you can see the snow falling.
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, that looks
Heck
cool.
yeah.
Hey, I live in Tucson. What is that stuff? Is that dandruff? Or is that dust? It could be dust if it's in Tucson.
It's Canadian cocaine.
Oh, okay.
Devil's dandruff.
Party hard, dude.
That's kind of sus.
Hard, dude. Shit.
Oh my God, I love you guys so much. You guys are all amazing.
This is awesome.
Really quick too, guys. Dave, first of all, or Chad, Mr. Chad Smith, I apologize. We appreciate you hopping on. I know we're going to lose
Yes,
you
thank you.
before you head out here. Melissa, one last time, I just wanted to ask you how you came about coming into the community here. Just as a brief overview, if you'd like, just real quick.
I mean, I'm real hard to hear, and I didn't.
I was asking Melissa.
It was a bit of a chain effect. I got on Steve Stockton's 13 Past Midnight and was into the chat. And from there, I found Missing Person Mysteries. And he does the listener encounters. So I wrote him a story and sent it in and did some shows with him and Jim and Jade. And from there, I went to Dave Scott, and I found you through Dave or Cisco's channel. I'm not sure.
Heck yeah. Very nice.
You're right.
I love Cisco. She's the best.
Yeah, I love Cisco. I just like crashing people's streams. You know, that's basically what I do.
We love it. We really do. That's what it's all about. That's what the whole community is about.
That's the idea. It's like the garage. Like we're all kind of hanging out in the garage talking about aliens and paranormal stuff. Like that's the vibe, right? Everybody's got a beer. I don't know. Maybe you have something more natural than beer, but you know,
That's a sweet tea.
yeah. Everybody comes around about the same subject. That's what's fun.
Yeah, I met Ben and Joe first on the garage, and it just branched off into everything. And I felt isolated early on. Now I feel like I have a family with all of you guys.
Hey guys, we got to run here. We got to head into the forest. So if you guys are still on later, doing your party show, I might be back, and hopefully with some results. Or Paul is my sacrificial lamb, just in case we find a horny Bigfoot. And
Bring some pheromones with you.
Hey, stand still for a second so we could get a good picture for the milk cartons when you go missing.
Yeah, Dave, I want a Bigfoot keychain, like a rabbit's foot, but a Bigfoot. Get me one.
we'll do our best.
Yeah.
See you, boys. Rock and roll.
Peace, dude.
Adios.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Be safe out there, guys.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So
You got my.
I was just gonna say, that's all I was gonna add to this is that it always amazes me every single time that we open up the StreamYard for people to come and join. The amount of support that you guys have to come out and show, and it's so awesome to see the different Now communities, whether it be 13 Past Midnight over there with Steve Stockton, or even Swamp Dweller and some of those as well, overlapping in the different podcasts. But what's their ultimate goal? And all this, everybody just seems to have been so curious, and look where curiosity has led us. And that, to me, is kind of a beautiful thing. All the relationships that have been built, and I'm gonna meet every single one of you mother shuckers at a
It's
conference
just
one day.
different branches of the family. That's all.
Agreed.
Yeah. So when do we? I mean, man, we've got to do something where we all meet up in person and hang out. Like that's got to be like 2022. I think that's our goal for 2022 is our goal. Like,
I think that December 4th would be a good test run on seeing who could get together first. That'll be a good test run to see, building up the networks and stuff like that. And I'm sure that you guys put something together later on. We'll know enough in advance that, more of us will be able to come on out.
Love that. Yeah, man.
Am I
like
the only
Texas,
one on the East Coast?
No, North
No,
Carolina.
ma'am.
So
I'm in
John-
North Carolina.
Oh,
Really?
Sedona
Where
was
at?
fun.
I'm in, all that.
I'm in Rockingham.
I'm in Wilmington. Oh, okay. I've been to the Carolina Rebellion a few times, and
There you go.
some memories
Now
I
the next
don't really
one.
know there.
Got some memories you don't remember?
Yeah, I had some good times out there. I love the Rebellion. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, can I ask a question real quick, since I got all these awesome people on here? You guys hear me? Now?
Go for
Sorry,
it.
I was muted. Yeah, go
Shoot.
for it. I would say, go for it.
Okay. It's a little bit personal, but I know most of y'all know my life kind of got flipped upside down this year. Just about everybody in my personal life, my family, there's only like one or two people that know a little bit. What is y'all's advice on me opening up to my family about the things I'm experiencing? Like, how do I say this? I don't know. Do I keep going? Because I feel like I'm kind of living a double life here. And I love you guys for the support that I'm getting from this, but I would like to maybe somehow be able to. I mean, they can see a change in me. They know. They say I talk different, I act different, not in a bad at all. They're like, damn, Josh, you're always talking about quantum physics now and philosophy and history and stuff, but they can see something going on. But I was just curious, like, were y'all always raised in a house where this stuff was accepted, or are y'all still kind of the black sheep of the family, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, can I go first?
Yes, please.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah. Why do you feel like you have to come out? Because being into the paranormal, it's not like a sexuality or any kind of identity thing. It's an interest of yours. Like, I don't have to go up to my parents and say, "Hey, mom and dad, I'm a Star Trek fan," or whatever it is. It's an interest of yours, and I know that it feels like it's consumed a lot because whatever happened to you, I don't know exactly what, but it kind of hit you hard and scooped you up from under your feet, but you're still the same person. You haven't changed any bit. You've just like been a bit more open to different stuff that you might not have been open to before. So nothing has really changed. If anything, any advice I would give is just maybe talk to your folks a little bit. Like I don't know, do you still live with your parents, or are you like in a close relationship with your mother and father?
I mean, I'm about an hour and a half away from my family now. I do want to say that no, it has completely changed me, to be honest. Like, I'm a whole different person than I was a year ago. But the thing is, I'm experiencing like orbs, the balls of light. I'm sure you guys have all heard of that. And here lately, it's got to the point where other people are seeing it with me. Like, my roommate has actually seen one with me. And I don't know. I just feel like eventually they're going to have to know. That's why I kind of asked this. I mean, they don't have to, but
yeah, I think I kind of get what you're getting at. You have this stuff gnawing at you, and you want to share it because that's how you feel a connection with these people. You trust them, and they're close to you, their family. It feels like you're hiding something from them, but you're still figuring this shit out. The thing is that I would probably, maybe slowly, like slow disclosure, bring it up with your family and stuff. Ask them, like, well, what do you think about such and such? And just a small talk, nothing big, nothing major. Don't act like you're going to reveal anything, just small talk. what do you think about, this
Maybe
thing?
start fishing and see if they've experienced anything.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, because my dad, he's not into any of this stuff. My mom, when she was alive, she was into this stuff, but not to the degree that I'm in. But she did swap a few spooky stories with me and stuff, and that was fun to connect with her on that. So with your family and stuff like this, maybe just sort of like just a slow drip, just to see where it is that they stand on this stuff like this, because I don't know how much longer this stuff is going to hold your interest or not, because there is a chance where it could just pull itself out of your life one day, where you just wake up and then it's like, oh, whatever experience, it's not there anymore. But
I don't know. I feel like honestly it's something that's going to have me booked for life. I was never into any of this a year ago. I never had the slightest interest in UFO or paranormal. I mean, I've always loved like sci-fi movies and stuff like that, but I never thought I would be, let alone experiencing it.
I
maybe,
love that. Oh, sorry, Chris.
Yeah. Well, maybe keep it closely to something related that you both love. Like you said, you love sci-fi stuff, right? So maybe talk about that with your family members or whoever it is that you trust that's not going to get squeaked out by this too much. Just say, hey, I'm into this thing. It's kind of like this thing that we saw on that one show, remember? And then let them open up to you before you drop the bomb on them.
I want to build off of that, because that's so perfect, Chris, what you're saying, because like the people that are surrounding you, like your family, they love you, dude. Like they love you. So like they notice there's a change, but it doesn't mean that they feel differently about their love for you. So the best thing you could do is break the ice, maybe make a joke and just start that conversation and say like, hey, so, we all know I'm into this shit. Have you guys ever, that's the best thing that I did with my family, because, I started this podcast. My family always knew I was into aliens and stuff. And when I actually like really got into it, started doing the podcast, like I remember one year during Thanksgiving, like it was kind of an elephant in the room and it felt weird. And I was like, I have to make a joke in some way, like, or break the ice. And then after I did, they felt comfortable. Like that's that tension that you're feeling, is because the acknowledgement hasn't been made. And the best thing for me, this worked for me, is humor, So if that's any sort of advice, because they still love you, man. Like doesn't mean that what you've been going through is it can be a negative thing. It could be a very powerful, positive thing for everybody, because I think everybody can relate to this stuff. I mean, you might be surprised. Maybe your family, your mom or your dad, maybe you've seen some stuff that, they can connect with you over. So that would be, yeah.
I appreciate it.
My parents still think I'm full of shit, and they don't believe in what I believe in. But they still treat me the same. They still love me, and they'll still love you.
Yeah.
Well, you can relate. You live in North Carolina like me. This is the Bible Belt, and a lot of this stuff, if you mention it, people look at you like you're crazy as hell, even though it's
exactly.
The Pentagon's admitted it, and still like people are in denial. The way I was before. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Ben. That I think I'm gonna take that, just kind of not taking it so seriously, but hinting at it, making a joke about it. So that's actually kind of what I'm thinking about doing myself, to be honest.
They'll appreciate it. They'll be like, thank God you said something first.
Hey, Josh, I remember you said.
Yeah, because their views may have changed over the years too.
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, are you working? I heard you said you were either working on a podcast or a book or something of that nature.
I was thinking about making a podcast. Actually, whenever I got a reading done yesterday by I was on the Paranormal Shop, and she said something about writing a book, which was really crazy because me and Chad Smith were literally just talking, and he said I need to write a book. But I do feel like I need to get this out in some way.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the thing is, when you're doing that, if you say another way that might help, is if you let them know, like, hey, I'm putting this together for a book. I'm doing something creative with this type of thing, and then that way they know that it's a constructive, positive thing for you, and that it's not a destructive thing. That it's not something that's going to hurt you. Because that's the last thing that they want, is to know that whatever this is putting you in danger, because their instinct is going to be to shut it down and pull your ass out of the fire. So when you're working on your book and stuff, just say, like, hey, I just have a few questions about this on the book. And I think it's great that you're working on a book, because you're coming at this with a fresh new perspective. And there's a lot of, people out there who, like, a lot of the books and media out there and stuff, it's for more like advanced people, who already know the stuff. There's very little beginner stuff, like how I first got into this or how I first affected into this. And when you're doing that, I think that's really a good thing. That I think your perspective is really going to be helpful on that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I was originally freaked out, but now I'm humbled by it. Sorry, go ahead, people. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be talking about me on all this. I never jump good all on here.
Yeah,
I really appreciate that from all of y'all.
I just got something saying about writing. I mean, in high school, which I was a juvenile delinquent, and in college I got straight A's, but I hated term papers. I mean, not disliked it. I hated term papers. This is when the most super thing you could have in your room is a Smith Corona portable. Not boom, boom. Oh, mistake. Start again. Boom. And I'm working on my 29th book, and I don't know how in the hell that happened. And I was being, but the best thing to do if you're going to write a book, do an outline chronologically, the events, the exact time if you can remember, the place if you can remember, the people that were there with you, and do it chronologically, and then get it. And if your computer doesn't have it, I'm sure. Someone will have a voice recognition, which will translate your words into typed words, and dictate a story as you're telling it to a friend. Hey, you know what? When I was 22 years old, I used to just, oh my God, and like you're just telling the story, and keep it simple. Don't use a lot of really fancy words. What Hemingway said that he used 700 words of the English language is all he ever used in all the books he's written. And when I was the curator at the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor, I'm writing descriptions on exhibits. I love that stuff. And I had to keep it to a low 8th grade level. Keep it under 150, maybe 200 words. I did a brief outline of the Japanese Zero that crashed on Niihau. And I thought it was a great narrative, but it was about 1,500 words. I don't even know how that happened. I hated a 500-word essay back in the day. Mm-hmm. But do it chronologically and do it in a spoken word and dictate it. This way you're not sitting there, oh, shit, I thought I was typing something and it's all gibberish. Yes, sir. Big Willie.
I was just moving my mic. Sorry. I end up touching stuff around me.
I've noticed it a couple times. I'm like, wait, hold on.
I know. I got to stop doing that because I realize what I do is I move it in and out, but it always looks like I'm like, excuse me, sir. No, I just wanted to say, first of all, welcome to the ZNN Zeta News Network. I've never seen you here before, so thank you for hanging out tonight. I just wanted to tell everybody thank you as we're getting closer and closer here. We got Lynn going on in 15 minutes. I just wanted to start giving everybody an opportunity to kind of let people know where we can find them, and thank each and every one of you for hopping on here tonight. Like I said, it really does blow my mind every time we put the link out there, the amount of people that come in and support. And I would love to do another time. I don't think Ben, I mean, obviously this is your guys' show, but what do you think about, like, I know next week you guys are talking about opening up the phone lines just to kind of have like a call-in kind of thing, but I would love to, I don't think you guys have ever done a roundtable. What do you think about like putting a roundtable together, man?
Yeah, dude. I mean, any ideas are welcome. Like we're wanting to, do this a lot more. So, dude, that sounds great. Yeah.
I'm crashing the round table.
Heck yeah, I was to say, in the perspective of like getting, it's good to have people that challenge, I think, any positions that are out there, not in a disrespectful way, but challenging it as in there are listeners out there who are asking those questions. I mean, we have as Ben knows, he knows the numbers. You've got a lot of people listening, and not all of everybody's seeing it from our point of view, and that's a good thing. So I think putting together a nice round table of collective minds would be an amazing thing. So I'll leave that up to Ben and Joe, but I just wanted to put it out there right now while I have a chance, because
So we're all a part of this thing, man. So any ideas are welcome. Let's do it, dude. Let's figure it out. That'd be dope. I'd love that.
Yeah, that's cool. It was great. It was a pleasure meeting you, Melissa, and talking to you a little bit more, Josh. And Josh, when you're working on the book, if you need any interior art, hit me up, dude. I'll give you some fair prices.
He's an awesome illustrator.
He
Yes,
really
Chris
is.
is awesome, dude. Yeah.
Awesome.
100%. Well, while we're doing that, but Chris, why don't you tell us? I'm sorry, Josh. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say what Jim was saying about Ben and Joe kind of being like the Wayne's world of the UFO community. I completely agree. I've spent this past year playing catch up, and I looked at a lot of channels, and they were immediately like my favorite channel, because I think it needs some comedy, or some lightheartedness. This subject is serious, and to some people it's scary, but you guys put that that touch to it. I think it needs.
I have a real bad habit of finding humor in almost everything. I mean, I'm going to her funeral on Monday, and she's my dear sweet cousin Cookie. And I have so many funny things I want to say about her. I don't know if it's appropriate. Her daughter is having just a terrible time trying to arrange the funeral, and that's why I'm up here. I drove from Tucson to Tulare last night, but if I didn't hit LA traffic, it'd have been 3 hours shorter trip. I went for over an hour and never went above 4 miles an hour. Most of the time I was at 1 or 0. And I mean, I have the Doobie Brothers on. I don't mind sitting in traffic, but you just sit.
That sucks for a car that does 180.
And people do this crap every single day. In Tucson, I can go down Interstate 10 on a Friday night on the beginning of a 3-day weekend. I'm still doing 65 or 70 through town on my way out heading east. And I just love it. We don't have
You're the man,
traffic.
Jim.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. There's, but I really enjoy everybody that I've met in this community. You guys are my kind of people. I enjoy it. And I told you, Ben, and everybody I've ever been on, I said, hey, if you have somebody who drops out, I have Zoom or what's the other one?
Yeah, StreamYard or Skype. There you go. Yeah.
And then one of my favorite, real life pixies is Apollo. And, I've been on her program, as a filler. I mean, no notice. Oh, I just had a cancellation. Can you be on in an hour? Sure. we just shoot it. So I had a chance to spend a lot of time with her and a dear friend of hers at the Disclosure Con. We're sharing a big, huge cabin, and she's just a character.
Heck
Well, I tell you what, then, Jim, why don't we do this really quick, just so I get time for everybody to be able to say goodbye. Where can people follow you if they want to be able to keep up with you, look up your books? Are they on Amazon or anything like that?
If you go into Amazon, you put books by James C. Goodall. It's just like it sounds, Goodall, and you'll have my B2 book. These are all hardbound books. B2, my Blackbird book, my Los Angeles class submarine book, Virginia Seawolf class submarine book, and my 75 years of the Lockheed Skunk Works, which I'm very, very proud of. That I did a book signing at the Skunk Works on June 3rd. The boss has ordered 20 of my books to give one to each one of his people in his staff, which just tickles the hell out of me. And Jeff said his 2 favorite books. This is the head of the Skunk Works, and anybody who knows anything about airplanes and things that go really fast or things that are painted black and that are just beyond description, you got to think of the Lockheed Skunk Works. And when the boss of the Skunk Works, I had 4 of them responded about my book. Sherm Mullen said, "My God, this is incredible." Jack Gordon, president of the Skunk Works, same thing. And I had Jeff Batty on it, and the number 3 guy, Steve Justice. It's been really well received, and I'm just absolutely delighted. But
you've got some photography in there that like no one's ever seen too. It was fantastic photography.
There's some stuff I didn't put in there because it's still classified, and Lockheed said we can't tell you not to put it in there, but if it's in there, it cannot be in Lockheed property unless it's in a vault. And you have at least a secret clearance to read your book that you can go on Amazon and buy as many as you want on.
I have not seen any of those photos.
And I just dropped those.
I mean, I sent one of the programs was called Senior Prom. It's a stealth cruise missile that looks like a baby F-117.
Yeah.
And I wanted to put it in my book, and they just, I said, we can't get it through the security people.
We can't tell you not to, though.
Right.
I said, well, what kind of pictures do you have of it? So I sent them examples of all of this. Oh, Jesus. I got them from Ben Rich. He said they weren't classified. Well, they're not classified as far as Lockheed's concerned, but apparently the customer, being the Air Force, has a real thing about weapons that are designed to carry nuclear weapons. And it was an advanced, the real name was Senior Prom was a program name, but it was the Tactical Advanced Cruise Missile. And it was, who won the contract was General Dynamics. They had a thing called the ACM 129. It's a forward swept wing, little weird little thing. And I have the complete narrative from the boss, the guy in charge of it. And that's what I use as my text, describing the program.
Heck yeah.
But Lockheed said, you can't have it. And I said, well, tell you what, I hope to be around for your 100th anniversary. Could you make sure that I'm the first person you contact to do your 100th anniversary book?
Well, speaking of books there, Jim, I made sure I put in the link there in the chat for anybody who might be listening. If you go back and you check out the chat, I put in a link that brought up all your books. So if you guys click on that link right now, it'll bring up every single book by Jim, and you guys will be able to get those and order those if you'd like and support him. And Jim, I really do, to echo again what Josh said earlier, thank you for your service. Thank you very much for all the hard work you've done over the years as far as identifying the crafts that
if it wasn't fun and I didn't enjoy the people that I've had the real pleasure of meeting. I mean, I've talked to, Sonny and I have corresponded back and forth on Facebook. Finally, I told him I was coming. He said, well, come by my area. He said, you got to stop by the house. We got to talk about drag racing. I've been a drag racer as well. I like fast cars, fast. I put fast women. Of course, my wife said, no, fast women. So, okay, I just, but I can still look at them. So
you're just looking at
oh, man.
I mean, my wife lets me go out on the road for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. I drive a Grand Sport Corvette.
But you call her every 30 minutes, so
and I love it. And I every time, and I've had it for 4 years now. Every time I look at it, I go outside and I just smile. That is my car. And the wife has no problem. So what are you going to do, huh? You're an old man. But she doesn't say that. She's really quite sweet.
Oh, man. Well, Jim and Sonny, I was going to say, I want to thank you very much for coming on. I only got about 4 minutes here before Lynn goes on. So I'm just going to get you out of here so I can get everybody else. I was going to say, Sonny, thank you so much. Everybody check out the Paranormal Chop Shop every Friday at, that's right. My days are all mixed up. Every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time Zone or 6 p.m. Pacific. Is that just it now? Is it just Pacific?
Yeah,
is that right?
Daytime.
Pacific daytime.
It's PDT. That's it.
PDT, that's it.
Yeah.
There we go. Agreed with T-Waz. Jim is such a legend. Well, Sonny, take it easy, brother. I'm going to get you out of here, and you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Jim, thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for doing the interview with Chad and them earlier.
All of you, Ben, Congratulations on the new daughter. You're going to
Thank you,
become an old man real soon.
Oh, it's happening.
And
Hey.
say hi to Ben for me. I mean,
All
for
right.
Joe for me.
Will do, dude. I'm gonna have to drive my Corvette when I get it in a couple years. I'll let you know, dude.
There you go.
I'll race you.
Oh shit. Okay.
Oh man. All right, Sonny. I'll see you later. Okay,
Okay.
brother. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All righty. Let's do this then, real quick. Josh, do you have anywhere you'd like to plug that real quick that they can follow you, and I'll get you out of here as well.
No, but I'll be on Chad's podcast as often as I can, and I will have
Yeah.
somewhere where people can hear me really soon. I'm actually working on now. I need to go ahead and get some headphones and get a setup like you guys got.
Oh, no worries.
That's
I'll send you
fine.
some links. There's quite a few options that aren't even that pricey anymore. So I'll make sure I can send something for you.
Awesome.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good evening, and I'll see some of you guys over on Lynn's chat as well. So, Josh, you have a good evening. All right, brother.
See you, Josh,
All
dude.
All right. Later.
Peace.
See you guys later. Nice meeting
Melissa.
you.
I was gonna say Melissa and Chris. Hang on a second. Oh, go ahead, Josh. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm gonna head out, guys.
Later,
Love
Josh.
y'all.
Peace, Ben.
See ya,
Peace,
Ben.
y'all.
Bye, Ben.
Love you.
Josh, did you have a question? Or maybe he didn't. All right. So, Chris, go ahead, brother. Where can we find you besides Conspire Theory Podcast?
Well, you can find me mostly at, of course, on Conspire Theory podcasts. I also, try to guest on other podcasts from time to time, be it UFO Garage, Bob Podcast, other such outlets and stuff like that. You can find me on Facebook, YouTube. You want to follow my art, Instagram at Conspire a Theory _ between all the words, and that's probably the best place to find all my art and stuff right now. And that's the best place to find me, and I will check you guys later. Pleasure to meet you, Melissa, and it was great hanging out with you, Big Willie.
As always, a pleasure. Thank you, Chris. All right, Melissa. So what about yourself? Where can we find you or support you? If you have any links you'd like to mention to anybody, I'll try to get them in the chat for everybody there.
You can find me at UFO Garage, crashing Big Willie's channel.
There you go. That's true.
Um,
Heck yeah.
Or look at his Facebook, and I'm in the friends list. So
There we go. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I like I said, I really appreciate you coming on tonight and hanging out. I appreciate everybody else who's come on and hung out. So if you guys want, you can hop backstage. Sometimes I talk to people after the show anyway. So if you want to hang out for a second, I know we still got Sunny and those guys back there. So if you want, you can hang out. If not, that's okay. And you guys go support Lynn. Crap, she told us who she was going to have on tonight. I don't remember who it was, but she's getting ready to start in like 3 minutes. So I'll get our exit music going here and we'll get out of here. Okay, Melissa? I'm going to just take you backstage for just a minute, okay?
all right.
All right, thanks. All right, guys. Thank you so much, everybody who came and hung out here tonight once again and bearing with me trying to read poor Karlene's bio, which was amazing. And I murdered almost every single word along the way. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. We'll be back here next Thursday. Hopefully, again, it could be the open lines, I do believe, with Ben and Joe. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. So, all right. Let me get, oh man, I'm getting rusty. I didn't have a show last week. Here we go. All right, guys. Enjoy your evening and have a good one.